down. Where's my taco? Where's my baby at? Where's my kid? I don't get. Where's my kid? Is she in the house? Is she in the ambulance? Is she in the fucking hearse? Where the fuck is my kid?
He says, I'm home. I've got Libby's keys. Where is she? You say. He replies, dead. You need to be honest. You need to be completely honest. You've got 2 kids to worry about. If you know more, if you were there, you need to tell us now because your life's about to change, I'm telling you.
In the early hours of October 31st, 2020, Lily Hudson, a Hemp Hill resident, was driving to meet up with a friend when she noticed both a Honda Accord and a Ford F-150 pulled onto the side of the road. Worried that this might be the result of Halloween drinking gone wrong, Lily pulled over and inspected the Honda. However, to Lily's shock and horror, she didn't just find an unfortunate drunk driver. When she stuck her head inside the Honda Accord, she was met with the dead body of a young woman. Terrified, Lily made a call to 911, and in this never-before-seen footage, you'll see how this unimaginable case unfolded. The following footage and never-before-seen exclusive interviews have been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed professional counselor and a former detective, former licensed polygraph examiner, and former hostage negotiation commander and instructor.
It's more than a carpet. It's a faraway land. We're helping build more housing so you can build your home. Learn more at ontario.ca/morehomes.
Hello, welcome to my live stream. Now I'm going to be painting this picture and hope to get it done today. Yeah, like we see, feel free to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, X, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon for more. And let's enjoy. I'm going to have a true crime document play in the background, so you have something to listen to while you guys are watching it. Alright, let's get to it.
How y'all doing? Who was the one that actually drove by? You saw it first? Can you, I know you've had to explain it a bunch of times. Can you do it just one more time? Because I got to take the statement, okay?
Look, he's gonna video it too.
So you won't have to write nothing down, okay?
All I know is I was gonna go that way, but I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it, so I went to go get gas.
Okay.
I seen that where her thingies were on, and I was like, well, maybe she's just having car problems. So I pull over, and I seen throughout my passenger seat, and I was like, she must be just slumped over. Maybe she's just drinking her.
So you know her?
I didn't know. I thought I knew. I thought it was Kanisha.
Okay.
The person that I knew. So I'm literally like right here. Like I'm like, you can see my tires right there.
Okay. So you said you thought it was your friend Kanisha. Yeah, you saw her hazard on.
So the door was already open. I was like, hey, like I shook her, and I was like, hey, and I was like, Kanisha, and nothing. So I looked at her. I was like, no, that's not Kanisha. So I like made sure pulse, because I work for Burton. I was like, I already know.
Mm-hmm.
I touched her and I was like, there's nothing. That's when I called 911. And then I seen her face and I was like, that's when I just started like going in shock. I was like, I didn't know what else to do after that.
As the police investigate the scene, they're shocked to discover that Lily wasn't the only living person there. Behind the Honda Accord, they found an unresponsive man curled up in the fetal position. As he was rushed off to the hospital, the police took note that he'd been lying next to a pair of boots, a baseball cap, and a black rifle. Through a wallet found at the scene, the police were able to determine that the deceased young woman in the car was 19-year-old Livy Lewis.
Hey, I don't know if dispatch has notified her next of kin or not. I know who it is, so that's not a problem. I think they should have a phone number for it to SO. I was waiting for you to decide if you wanted to do that or not yet.
I think let's at least get her out of here first.
Okay.
I mean, that technically, it's y'all's scene, but however y'all want to do it. I just think if you notify them and it's closed, they're going to do something on the scene.
Yeah, I agree.
Hoping to process the scene without any disruptions, the officers decide not to notify Livy's family until their work is done and her body has been removed. Unfortunately, with word of the crime spreading like wildfire, this plan quickly falls apart. Darcy Bass, Livy's mother, soon arrives at the crime scene.
Where's my baby? Calm down. Where's my taco? Where's my baby at? I don't have to talk to the kid. Listen, it's your kid. Where's my kid?
my god.
My kid. Oh my
It's so
God!
heartbreaking.
You're gonna ask me that stupid fucking question right now? Where's my kid? Who's my kid? Where is my child?
Why not just sit her down and
Libby
tell her?
Lewis, where is she? Where is she at? Y'all won't tell me a goddamn thing?
After several minutes of begging for information, Darcy Bass, Livy's mother, is finally able to pry some information out of the stony officers.
Y'all can be straight up with me and y'all can tell me. Y'all can be straight up with me and y'all can tell me instead of having me running around here looking crazy. Y'all won't answer my questions.
That's
At
right.
this point, we do not know.
Don't know what if she's alive or dead. You couldn't tell me that.
She is not alive.
Okay, well you could have told my.
Oh my god.
Oh my God! What the? What? There's an investigation. If y'all, okay, there's an investigation. This is funny to you? Is this funny to you?
Not at all.
Is this funny to you?
Not at all.
Huh? Yeah, he was. I saw his fucking eyes.
This kind of tense situation is exactly what officers were hoping to avoid. As some of the officers deal with containing Darcy, the rest of them continue to process the crime scene. With Livy's body still in the car, it was hard to tell exactly what happened to her. However, they could see that there was a large amount of blood around Livy's face and all around the car. Upon further inspection of the outside of the car, it was clear that someone had forced their way into the vehicle. Damage to the rear passenger window suggested that someone had tried to use some sort of object to break through it. After that was unsuccessful, they eventually began kicking and striking the driver's side doors. Eventually, this individual must have been able to pry open Livy's door, leaving her vulnerable to their attack. As the search of the car continues, police eventually find a crucial piece of evidence that points them towards Livy's cause of death.
That is sad.
What appeared to be a bullet hole was found in the dashboard of Livy's car. The size and shape of the hole matched that of a .308, the exact type of rifle found on the scene of the crime. Based off this bullet hole and the blood found in the car, it was eventually determined that Livy had been killed by a bullet wound to the neck. Desperate for more answers, the officers began looking into the other vehicle on the scene. While the truck didn't reveal as much as the officers had hoped, they were still able to glean some useful information from it. Not only did they find identification for Matthew Edgar, the unresponsive man found on the scene, but they also found 2 phones in the car, one belonging to Matthew and the other belonging to Livy. As the police searched the area for anything else that could point them towards the truth, Darcy tries to find out what the officers know, and more importantly, what information they might be keeping from her.
So the investigation, her and one other individual
Very possible.
were in the car.
Possible. We don't know yet. What happened? We're in the middle of the investigation.
Well, can you tell me some information about what happened to my kid and why she's dead in her car?
All we know is right now that she's deceased in the car.
Whose gun is it? Run the numbers on the gun. Was it Matthew's gun?
We don't know yet. We have not.
Well, if you were to come up with a conclusion right now, what would you say?
We don't make conclusions. We don't make assumptions. We go by what the evidence has for us. We don't have all the evidence yet. Not at all.
I'm trying to protect. Y'all trying to protect somebody. They're trying to protect somebody.
Hey, you can't go over that. They got these people that go over.
Oh, that's my kid! Well, my baby just did.
I know, but you can't come over here.
Why? Because y'all trying to protect somebody?
Oh, this is a crime scene.
My child. So you just leave my kid just out there? Y'all cover my kid up.
She is.
No, y'all gonna just leave my kid in the car?
Right now, we have to. That is standard operating procedure.
Then what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Doing the investigation so my kid get off the side of the road and be late? Just what the?
It's not long before Darcy finds out that not only was Matthew Edgar the one found at the crime, but he was rushed to the hospital.
May I ask what Mr. Edgar's injuries was? teach y'all a lie like that?
Everything okay, Buster?
Who can tell me why he went to the hospital? Why did y'all take him to the hospital? Why did y'all take him to the hospital?
He was leaving the hospital when I arrived.
Okay, well, who was here before you?
He was gone when I got here.
Okay, well, who was here before you?
Just the ambulance.
What was his injuries? What was wrong with Mr. Egger?
That ambulance is already gone. These are just the ones that are here for now.
How do you know if they was here or not?
Because I was here when that ambulance. I passed the ambulance when I was turning on to this road, going back into Woodville Hospital. We have a sister named Tanya. Okay, Tanya's up here at the top of the hill, and wants to know if you'll come up there with her. Like it's Tanya.
No, I'm not going up there with them.
Despite several attempts from the cops to remove her from the crime scene, Darcy is determined to stay right where she is. The longer Darcy stays on the scene, the more tense the situation gets, and it's only a matter
I feel
of
that could be a
time
problem
before
for sure.
somebody snaps.
What is that together?
I'm here.
You're him? Damn, you're 3 hours. How long? When did this happen, Mr. Maddox? When did this happen?
I've been at the hospital, young lady. Hey, I'll answer your question.
Yeah, I can see how that's been a problem. I understand the mother's frustration, but she's interfering and getting in the way. That's not good. I understand where she's coming from. But he's acting kind of odd, but then again, you can't tell if someone grieves. There's no proper way to grieve or be in shock, so interesting.
This is my daughter.
Right now.
This is my daughter. This is my daughter.
Right now,
You can't answer my
I
question.
know who it is, but anyway, if you're way back up yonder, the thing will be up there.
No, I'm not going way up there.
Yes, ma'am, you are. You're either gonna go peacefully or we're gonna put you in the car.
You're gonna put me in the car.
All right. It's just up to you.
I'm not leaving like that. You're gonna force me to go up there.
Yes, ma'am, I am. Because we've got to process this thing, and I'm not gonna be sitting here talking to you while I'm doing it.
I won't talk to you.
All right, get up, back up there.
I've never been.
Come on,
there.
fellas.
I know.
I got her.
Oh, damn
Got
it. Golly, I wouldn't even be in.
Get gone.
No, this ain't gonna treat a mother that just lost her child.
Darcy,
You
hey.
treat a mother that just lost her child
I sympathize with you.
Yeah,
But
I
hey,
can
we've got a job to do.
With this, the investigators' focus was back to the task at hand, finding out what happened to Livy. It was quickly becoming clear that the only person who could answer the investigators' many questions was Matthew himself, so an officer was sent to the hospital for an interview.
Okay, Matthew, can you tell me a little bit about what happened while we're waiting on that camera to...
I had no clue what happened.
No clue.
So,
Okay, what happened? Do you remember what happened earlier in the evening?
last thing I remember is I put my kids to bed and I was on my porch.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last thing I remember.
Okay. Been drinking this evening? How much?
Bottle,
Bottle of
Jim Beam,
Jim Beam? Anything else?
a few beers earlier in the day.
Okay. So you just woke up and here you are at the hospital trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Woke up in the ambulance.
Woke up in the ambulance? Okay. How'd you get all the blood all over your face?
I don't know.
Because the hospital said you don't have any injury. Don't know. Okay. All right, Matthew. You don't mind if I call you Matthew? You can call me JP. You don't have to call me anything else. I'm going to take some pictures of you. Okay?
What am I being questioned for?
Well, there's another vehicle parked in front of yours. Inside that vehicle is a dead female. That's why you're being questioned. I don't know. I have not made it out there yet. So we're just trying to figure out what's going on. Okay? In dealing with me, Matthew, you're going to find out. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be flat out honest with you. But unfortunately, there is a deceased female in that vehicle that's in front of yours. And my job is to find out why she's dead.
Although Matthew doesn't seem to remember anything revolving around Livy's
McLig?
death,
I'm not
JP
taking
is still
requests at the
determined to get
moment,
some
as
useful
I'm working on my
information
own
out of
personal
him.
stuff.
You have a
But you can
girlfriend?
send me a DM, and I can do a commission later on. But right now, during
What's
my
her
stream,
name?
I'll be working on this.
I got an ex-wife. Her name's Montana.
Well, if you want to commission me and pay me to do something, sure, contact me through my DMs
I know Gail out there. I'm kind of talking to her a little bit.
or message me, and we can go from there.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw Libby?
Tonight.
Tonight. What was that about?
It was all at my buddy's house.
Okay. What house was that?
Bobby's.
Bobby Ozan, right there on 944?
She was her, my ex-wife, both was there.
Okay. Who's your ex-wife?
Montana Chel.
Any kind of arguments with anybody going on over there while you're over at Bobby?
Not really.
While appearing groggy, Matthew shakes his head before answering, not really. Not only is this a qualifier, and it isn't a clear no, but there seems to be a delay in his verbal and nonverbal sync.
With FanDuel, every night is a watch party. Because on North America's #1 sportsbook, you can bet all the stars with all your friends. And tell them that they can get paid in as little as 2 hours. Only on FanDuel. Bet
That's
the NBA
crazy so
all
far.
season long.
Okay. When you say ex-wife and ex-girlfriend, what's your relationship like with both of them?
It's awesome.
Okay. So it's not a typical,
No,
I hate your
hell
guts.
No. Hell no.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Okay.
My ex-wife and her, they're big buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Libby had my youngest son all day today. And then 12 get hung out all day. That's why she came over to bring him back to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is my weekend.
It was your weekend?
Yeah.
So who brought the youngest one?
Libby did.
Libby? Okay. Is she the mother?
No.
No.
Montana's the mother of both of them.
Okay. Okay.
But we all got a relationship and we all hang out and stuff like that.
Right.
It's better for the boys.
No, I understand. I agree wholeheartedly. It's the man thing to do. Raise your boy, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Try my best.
JP tries to find out more about the last moments Matthew remembers before waking up in the ambulance.
Okay, so you're at Bobby Ozan's. What else can you tell me of what happened last night?
Me and the boys went to the house. We got home. I put them to bed. I put Fletcher in his room. I put Cooper in my room. Turned on TV for him.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's all you remember.
That's all I remember.
He seems to shake his head no when he says, "That's all I remember," which is a mismatch between his words and his movements.
Okay. Everybody over there drinking? Yeah. Okay. What kind of car you have?
I have a 2007 3/4-ton Dodge Cummins. And I got a 2018 Dodge Journey SUV.
Okay. You know where those vehicles are at right now?
My house.
Your house?
Although Matthew may not realize it, he's just given JP crucial information. Neither of the cars that Matthew listed as his matched the Ford F-150 found at the crime scene. Could there have been someone else there? Even with that possibility, there's no denying that Matthew looks suspicious.
It's not looking good for you, Matthew. Because I still don't know what's going on. You don't remember nothing, which is fine. But the cause of death for that girl is not natural. Well, it looked like she got shot. That's what I was out there talking to some of the deputies that are out there. Now, I don't know that for a fact, Matthew. I'm not out there. They don't know either. So we've got to wait for the autopsy and all that stuff. You know how we do things, just like on TV.
Normally, we would expect an officer to not reveal this detail so soon. This is usually because they want to keep certain things hidden so they could see if a suspect knows something that only the perpetrator would know.
Not exactly, but all right. And here again, Matthew, I will tell you flat out what's going on.
Did they tell you a name?
Hmm?
Did they tell you a name?
Libby. I'm sorry for your loss, Matthew. All right, Matthew. I'm gonna take you over to the jailhouse now, okay? At this point, I'm gonna place you in custody, okay? Charge is gonna be homicide. All right?
It's certainly interesting that Matthew isn't showing any anger or emotion at hearing this. We would typically expect to see some kind of reaction, but his face is oddly blank.
Now pay attention to me. I want you to understand why, okay? Okay. You were found behind the vehicle where the decedent was. There is a family relationship, meaning there was some kind of relationship between you and her, past, present, future, you know. All right. There is a weapon laying on the ground behind the vehicle, close to where you were found. Okay. Based on that and a few other things, I'm gonna place you in custody right now for homicide. Okay. So we're gonna take you over to the jailhouse. We're gonna get you some regular clothes. Your clothes are gonna be with me. There is blood stain on the clothes. Okay. Which will be indicative of, they're basically what we call transfers. Okay. In other words, you were in contact with somebody bleeding. Okay. Obviously, the amount of blood on the clothing is not sufficient for your injuries because the only place you're injured is a little bit right up under here. Okay. You had no open cuts, no open other than your hand. Okay. Here again, that's another reason I'm going to go ahead and place you in custody right now for homicide.
Want a gambling experience made just for you? Our state-of-the-art control center.
Although Matthew was taken into custody for Livy's murder, there was a lot of investigation to do to prove that he was their killer. It's believed that he refused to talk to police, maintaining that he didn't remember anything. While Matthew wasn't able to give the investigators a lot of information to go off, they knew a good place to start would be everyone who was at Bobby's party on that fateful night, starting with Montana and Bobby.
Oh, y'all went to a party last night?
Yes, sir.
Did you go by yourself or did you?
I was by myself. Yes.
Okay. What, did everybody leave at the same time?
Everybody left, and then all that was left was me, Livy, and Bobby. And I don't remember the exact time.
Well, during the party, what was going on?
Nothing. Everybody was having a good time. Everybody was getting along.
I went to bed about 1 o'clock that night. And I just left everybody else outside doing, their thing. They come in there and woke me up.
They being?
Montana and Livy come in there and woke me up and said, "Hey, get up, let's go outside and drink." And I'm done. I've had enough. And I told them, I said, y'all can want to stay here if y'all want to, because they was pretty drunk.
That night, there had been a party hosted by Bobby. Later into the evening, Matthew got mad when he heard that Livy was going to spend the night.
I was in there for 5-10 minutes maybe. And then she said that she was going to stay the night there. And that's whenever I was like, well, if you're staying, I'm going to leave. I'm going. I don't have no reason to stay. I got up and I walked out. And when I walked out, Matthew was standing in the doorway. So he heard her say that.
And you think he heard Livy say she's going to stay the night?
Oh, I know he heard her because that's what made him so mad.
Based on Matthew's statement to JP, Livy was his ex-girlfriend, and they had a great relationship despite being broken up. If that were the case, why would hearing this make him so upset?
What's the relationship with Matthew and Livy?
They were dating. They've been split up for a month or so.
When was the last time they were together, to your knowledge?
Dating wise, her birthday weekend, beginning of October.
So you come out and he's standing there. What happened then?
I turned around and I opened Bobby's door back up and I was like, Matthew's here and he's pissed. I just knew he was mad. I seen it.
Bobby's bedroom door?
Mm-hmm.
Montana done walked out of my hallway, which walks into my garage area. And I could hear a bunch of screaming and beating and so I knew they was fighting automatically. I
tried to walk past him to leave and
he wouldn't let you?
No. He tried to choke me.
He what?
He tried to choke me. And then that's when I went and got Bobby.
Montana and Bobby's version of this party is a far cry from the harmless, peaceful party that Matthew described earlier.
Well, when I go out there, he's over there kicking her car and beating her car and all that. Well, he goes after her again. Well, I just grab him and hold him up against the car. and screaming at him, quit, whatever. Well, he's just yelling top line, he's gonna kill us and all this other stuff. And about that time, Livy comes behind me, headed toward her car. Everybody had a car. He had a vehicle. Montana had a vehicle. Livy, they all three had their own vehicle. Her car was parked over toward Woodline. Well, she started to her car, and he took off after her again. I took off after her. So I got him and strained him up against the car again. And she come shooting out of the driveway, turning up the road, and then Montana got to her car and got back in it. And then as soon as I let him go, he tore out and got his car, and he gave chase. And I figured that was the end of it.
Although they may have escaped from the chaos at Bobby's house, this night of terror wasn't over for Montana or Libby.
And then once I got to town, I called Libby to check on her and asked her if she was okay. And she had turned, like going toward Matthew's house.
She said she was okay when you called her?
Mm-hmm. She kept going past the houses. I don't know where she went.
She drove by Matthew's house?
Matthew's house and his grandparents' house where I stayed at. I pulled in at the brick house, and I never heard from her after that.
Did he stop behind you?
Yeah, he pulled in behind me. I went to get it, or he was kicking my door again. I went to get out, and he started choking me again. And I was honking the horn so somebody would come outside.
What was he saying?
Threatening to kill me.
What?
Threatening to kill me.
What, you don't remember what he was saying specifically?
I will kill you. I will kill you.
Did he say why, or just that's all he was saying?
Mm-hmm. Because I knew that Livy was going to stay the night at Bobby's, and that's why he was so mad at me.
Did his mother or grandmother, anybody come outside?
No, sir. I went inside, and I laid down.
So you got out of the car and went in the house. Did he try to come in or anything? He just left. Okay. Did you tell Cindy what was going on?
Yes, sir.
What'd she say?
She just told me to calm down because I was upset. And I just finally fell asleep. And then I woke up at 6-something this morning to them crying on the back porch because the first story that we got was that Matthew had gotten in a wreck. We didn't know anything.
But the first thing, you just woke up the next morning, Cindy's on the back porch crying.
Mm-hmm.
Were y'all all intoxicated?
Who? All who?
You and Libby and Matthew.
Yes, sir.
What were you drinking?
They were drinking whiskey, and I was drinking vodka.
When did y'all find out, and how did you find out that Libby was dead?
I didn't find out until after it was 8:30, 9 o'clock.
With Montana's story out in the open, it's time to dig a little further into the details.
What do you think happened?
I have no idea. Because I would have never thought Matthew would do something like this.
Has Matthew ever been assaultive towards you before this?
Not. The whole time we were together, he never put his hands on me. Ever. Never once laid a finger on me. And a couple months ago is the first time he ever put his hands on me.
Montana delays for a long time before answering the question, followed by a slight stumble in her words.
Not.
It appears that she's thinking a lot about her answers. However, what she says next makes it clear that something changed recently.
The whole time we were together, he never put his hands on me. Ever. Never once laid a finger on me. And a couple months ago is the first time he ever put his hands on me.
So at some point this morning, Cindy went down and got the boy, but you don't know how, if he called her or she just decided to go or
Mama
what?
went and got him, I think.
Who did?
Mama.
What's Mama's name?
Sandra.
Matthew's grandmother?
Cindy's mom.
But you don't know if Matthew called her or she just went. You don't know why she went and got him.
Probably worried about him, knowing he was acting crazy.
Has he ever been heavy-handed towards his mother or grandmother?
Not in front of me.
She makes another very careful statement by saying, "Not around me," once again making it seem like she's being cautious about what she's sharing.
Do you know how much I love you? This much.
Have you ever seen a Matthew be rough with Libby?
I haven't.
Have you ever heard it? She complained to you?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
They both complained about it. She'd hit him and he'd hit her.
Montana's interview was certainly enlightening. However, the investigators still had questions. What had happened between Matthew and Livy after Montana had left them? Desperate for answers, investigators searched Matthew's home. Not much of use was found in the house. However, it was lucky that investigators searched it when they did. Just a few days after their search was completed, Matthew's house burned to the ground. While Matthew's mother Cindy claimed the fire was started by a gas leak, many around town felt that someone had burned it down in retribution for Livy's death. Despite the strangeness surrounding the house fire, no one was ever found responsible, and it was ultimately written off as an accident. Still, investigators began to feel the pressure. They had to solve this case before someone burned down more evidence, or possibly even attacked someone involved with the case. Unexpectedly, one of the biggest pieces of evidence was found at Matthew's grandparents' house. In the afternoon of October 31st, Zachary Hogan, Matthew's cousin, discovered Livy's key fob in the front lawn of the house. How had Livy's keys ended up so far from her car? This wasn't the only shocking discovery Zach made that day. While out on the lawn, he realized that his prized vehicle had been stolen, his Ford F-150.
So at any point in time, did you give Matthew permission to operate your vehicle?
No.
Has he ever operated your vehicle before?
Yes.
Right, and he knows the door code, and the keys are generally left in the ignition because you have a door code.
Yes. And I told him the door code
that
day, about noon.
So what was your reaction when you found out your truck was not there?
I was mad.
Okay. Did you have an assumption of who took it?
Yeah.
And who was that?
Matthew.
Matthew. Did you know where your truck was when you saw it missing?
No.
It's clear that at some point in the night, Matthew drove back to the brick house to swap cars, although his motivation behind this strange decision isn't clear. Is it possible that when Matthew swapped cars, he may have been seen by someone at the house, someone who might have been willing to help him?
The police were already over at Matthew's, and you were walking out just to see what's going on?
Yeah.
And you found these keys.
Yeah.
Tell me about these keys you found.
They were just laying in the rocks right beside the driveway.
The little white rock, blue rock, what?
It's like
gravel, blue rock, kind of like blue rock?
Yeah.
Next to the driveway, on the right side of the driveway.
Pulling in from the highway?
Yeah.
It's on the right.
On the right.
So I'm halfway down the driveway.
And they were just laying there?
Yeah.
And that's not where they normally stay?
No.
Where do they normally stay?
I mean, I imagine with her in her car.
Sounds like a stupid question, but I gotta ask.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand. All right, so you pick up these keys. You realize that they're not yours.
Yeah, I thought they were I was making sure they weren't Montana's because I was going to tell Montana, here's your keys.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized it wasn't hers, so I was like, I just set them down on the, under the carport on the little brick. I don't even know what you call it.
The little brick ledge?
Yeah.
Montana also had some intriguing information for the police about Livy's keys.
But the key fob for Livy's car was found
in the driveway.
In the driveway. Who found it?
Matthew's mom.
Matthew's mom. And what did she say?
She took it into the house and put it up. And whenever the Texas Rangers come, she did not want to give it to them. And that's when Matthew's uncle walked in there and told her that she had to give it to them, that they were going to cooperate through the whole investigation. And then she gave it to him.
Where was the key fob? Were you there when she found it, or?
I was in the house with Matthew's cousin Macy, talking to her, and they come inside talking about that they had found it. And I want to say she put, like, when you walk in the brick house, there's like a big china cabinet, and it has dishes and everything in it. And I want to say she put it in one of those little bowls that has extra keys and everything else in it.
Did that strike you as odd that she didn't want to give it back?
Investigators had noticed that Montana's claims about the key fob being found were very different from Zach's. Would Cindy really go to extreme lengths to cover her son's tracks? Or was Montana trying to make Cindy look suspicious for some reason? Investigators were going to get an answer to this question sooner than they expected when a woman contacted them and explained that she'd driven by the crime scene before Lily Hudson, the woman who called 911, had ever arrived. The information given to them by this unexpected witness was so shocking that 7 months after her initial interview, Montana was called in for another.
At any point after the party Buffy was in, were you ever on the scene where Levy was killed?
No.
No.
Montana makes a strange headshake here that looks more like a yes than a no. She's completely closed off her nonverbal, and it's as close to the wall as she can get. It appears that she's even more detached from this interview than the last one. It's also noteworthy that in short time between her interviews, Montana has dyed her hair darker. This will come up later on.
I did not even know Libby was killed until 8:30 or 9 o'clock the next morning.
She doesn't provide any more information about being at the scene of the crime or not. Rather, she shifts to when she found out Livy had been killed, which is a very clear deflection.
Now, you said you called at some point, Levy, when she was in Hemphill?
Yes, when we were driving through town, I called her.
Did she answer?
Yes. I said, hey, are you okay? She said, yes, I'm fine. Are you okay? I said, yes. She said, please go home. I said, I can't because he's rear-ending me right now. I want to go somewhere where there's people. And I hung up. Or she had lost signal. And then that's the last time I heard from her.
Okay.
In the span of a few seconds, Montana has made some odd remarks. She said that Matthew rear-ended her, but didn't clarify if he hit her.
I said, I can't because he's rear-ending me right now.
There's a chance she meant to say tailgating, and her anxiety is affecting her ability to think of the right words. Similarly, she says that she hung up or lost signal.
And I hung up. Or she had lost signal.
Which are two very different endings to the call, and it's strange to get them mixed up.
Can you supply these text messages to the text ring?
Yes.
Now, most of those text messages were what they call iMessages.
Yes.
Because you had internet service.
Right.
The last message you sent them is, WTF are you doing?
Yes.
What was that about?
I don't know.
But you never left the house?
No.
Never went outside?
No.
Because that text message, that indicates that you were outside of Wi-Fi when you sent that text message. So that implies, it's a whole, all your other messages were iMessages, so you had internet service, you had Wi-Fi, whatever. When you sent that message, it's a text message, so that means you were outside of Wi-Fi coverage.
Right. But I never left the house and I never went outside.
Though it's hard to see because of the table, it seems like Montana is displaying some anchor point shifting and leg fidgeting. Either way, it's clear she's experiencing increased discomfort about that text. She's pushed herself up against the wall, trying to put as much distance as she can between her and the detectives. Despite Montana's insistence that she never left Cindy and Sandra's house, it's clear that the investigators have information that makes them suspect otherwise.
And one of those text messages Edgar told you, you asked, where's Libby? What was his response? Did he ever tell you Libby was dead?
Yes.
And that was during those reports of those text messages you supplied to the text line?
Yes.
What do you think?
I didn't believe him. I just thought he was talking out of his head. He was drunk.
And you've seen Matthew drunk before?
It's 1 second.
How drunk was he that night?
Drunk. He'd been drinking whiskey.
Just whiskey or?
Yeah, just whiskey. He hadn't been drinking no beer. Or it was mixed. It was a mixed drink, I think.
Montana's body language isn't aligned with what she's saying.
What's
and
your
she corrects
question,
herself
though?
after she's shaking her head no. She's clearly really nervous, which could be because she's just lost her best
What's your question, though?
friend, and the father of her child appears to be involved in some way. This would shake anyone.
But he never touched any beer?
Not that I know of.
It's just, have you ever known him to have whiskey before?
Yes.
And how did he react to it?
He just can't handle it. Like,
what do you mean he can't handle it?
I always thought it made him like mad. Like he got mad easier. Got drunk faster.
You've been with him when he drank whiskey prior to this, and he's gotten drunk. What does he do when he wakes up?
Does he remember? Does he not remember? Does he ask you what happened? Nothing like that. Anything like that? No.
Not really is an interesting answer here, perhaps indicating that sometimes he has memory loss, but not as much as he's acting like he has now.
Is he normally able to recall events after having breakfast?
It's certainly convenient that Matthew would have mysterious amnesia on the night that his ex-girlfriend was shot and killed. While Montana has been providing the investigators with plenty of useful information about Matthew, she's not out of the doghouse yet.
Why would a witness who had driven by the scene prior to the 911 call about the accident, if you will, put your car at the scene of that crime?
My car?
Yes, ma'am.
Repeating back "my car" is a technique to give herself a moment to think.
I don't know, because my car never moved until the evening after everything had happened to come to go stay at my parents' house.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so your car was never there?
No.
Even though I got a witness that can say that. The car, because this witness sat behind your car for 2 minutes before you or somebody, a female, waved her on to go around.
My car, as far as I know, my car never left.
Mm-hmm.
And if it did, I was not driving it.
Montana makes a qualifying statement here by saying, "as far as I know." This gives her a chance to adjust her answer later if more evidence is presented to her. It's also interesting that she clarifies, "if it did, I wasn't driving it." She hasn't ruled out the possibility that someone else took her car.
Number 40, the feeling of finding something to watch before this ad ends. The feeling of winning, number 1.
All right, this case is getting very interesting.
Who would have been driving?
I don't know.
Who else has keys to your car?
Nobody.
Just
I
gonna
had one
save
set of
real
keys.
quick.
That's it.
And they were with you?
They were, I don't remember if I took my keys out of my car and put them on the counter at the grandparents' house or if I left them in the car.
We've got a lady that's willing to step on the stand and put your vehicle there. Just want you to hear me, okay? I'm not trying to box you, and I need you to be straight. I know you got kids, and you're probably trying to stay out of it as best you can, okay? Don't answer me, okay? Just listen to me. If you were there, okay, for any reason, just because you're scared or you're trying to help this bad situation, we need to know about it, because if you're lying about it, okay, for any reason, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I mean, people get like that. I need to know if you were there or if you were called down there for any reason to help him or whatever. Like, what have you done or whatever, you know. I need to know, because this ain't done. And if we put you there, like we already got one witness, put your car there, okay. There's a difference between being a witness, okay, and being a suspect. You understand? You need to be honest. You told me that you told him that you had no idea that she was dead. Well, he texted you clear as day. Let me see your phone again. I'll show you the text. You know, he clearly says, "I have Libby's keys." So let me read it out to you, that way you know. Going to get Libby. Where is she? I'm pulling out of the driveway. You call him up. So you're the sorriest piece of shit I've ever seen. He left his kids there.
His grandma. As he was, I think as he was pulling out, his grandma's pulling out to pick him up.
Okay. I'm home. This is all at 3:23 a.m. He says going to Libby. And that's where that conversation. So you with me?
Yes, sir.
Then you call him a sort of 3:28 a.m. Quick trip apparently, because at 3:34, which you're awake, okay, he says, "I'm home. I've got Libby's keys in her phone." Where is she, you say? He replies, "Dead." All this goes down within simply from 3:23 to he says, "You're dead." That's 3:34 a.m. Okay. I'm gonna tell you right now, Montana, I'm gonna tell you right now, you need to be honest, okay? You need to be completely honest. You've got 2 kids to worry about, okay? If you know more, you were there, you need to tell us now because your life's about to change, I'm telling you.
It appears that Montana never told the police that Matthew texted her saying that Livy was dead. Instead, they had to pull out her text messages and confront her, even if she thought Matthew was speaking figuratively because he was so upset with Livy. You'd expect her to mention this text to detectives after Livy was actually killed. At the very least, most people in her situation would be upset about the possibility that Matthew was being honest when he texted, especially after allegedly choking and attacking her. Things aren't looking good for Montana, and they're only going to get worse.
I'm not holding anything back. I've told y'all everything that I know. I never left that house once I got there. Never. Not till the next day whenever my mom come pick me up and we went to my apartment to get diapers and I come back.
You mean to tell me less than an eighth of a mile while you're awake? And how many minutes is that? A 10-minute span? 11? 11 minutes, and you're still talking to him. You never heard 2 rifle shots going on?
I did not. No, I did not hear nothing. I never heard nothing. I never went down there. Nothing. I never
Did
left the
anybody
house.
in that house go down there and use your car?
Not that I know of.
I need you to think. Put that thinking cap on, girl. I'm telling you, because your car has been put at the scene.
Though she repeats, "I never left the house" several times, she doesn't seem to be getting angry about being accused. We would normally expect an innocent person to be showing some kind of irritation by now, because they know the detectives are wrong.
We have a problem. This is a car that has 1 set of keys to it that you're in possession with. You with me? I'm using your words, not mine.
I'm with you, but I never got in. Once I got there, I never got in my car. And
Would his mother have went down?
She could have. If she did, I was asleep. Or his grandma.
You wasn't asleep.
The witness who saw Montana's car also claimed to have seen a woman at the scene of the crime, though she wasn't able to get a good look at her face and couldn't positively identify her. Still, this leaves an intriguing question. If Montana is being honest and the witness is correct, could another woman have driven her car to the scene?
Okay, you're texting this gentleman. Why he's in the middle of a homicide?
Okay,
For
while I
God's
was
sakes.
awake, his mom never left.
No, we Cindy.
Correct.
I know there's something you holding back.
There's nothing.
Ma'am, I'm just telling you, like I said.
There's nothing I'm holding back.
Montana has been repeating "not that I know of" and has her palms up in a non-confident position while making her statement. She's also engaging in a lot of self-soothing. This is completely understandable given the accusations, but again, innocent people are going to start being really irritated that they're being accused. And so far, she hasn't been showing much anger or frustration.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube and exclusive access to all things.
Nothing. I'm telling y'all everything I know. Everything. I understand I have 2 kids. This is why I've agreed to do everything that y'all have asked me to do. Everything. I'm not holding nothing back. Libby was my friend. She was my kid's stepmom.
Despite Montana's emotional pleading, the investigators still think there's something she's holding back. Determined to get the answers they're looking for, they hook her up to a polygraph machine. It's important to note that polygraph machines are not admissible in court and have been known to be inaccurate.
Well, have you ever had a polygraph before? Okay. A little nervous coming in, worried about it?
Yeah.
Are you? Most people are, and I'll tell you my experience with that is the nervousness comes from one of 2 or 3 different areas. One, just unknown, never having done it before, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Part of settling Montana down for the test also included her once again going through the events of the evening that Livy died. This time, her story includes an interesting detail. She explains that she went to the brick house where Matthew's mom lives after Matthew had allegedly attacked her at Bobby's house and followed her with his truck.
And as I go to get out, he's at my driver's side door and starts choking me again. I start honking the horn, hoping somebody would hear me and come out there and get him off of me and get him to calm down or something like that. Well, when I start honking my horn, he leaves and he goes back to his house. And then I go in through the back door of the brick, that we call it the brick house. Go in through the back door of the brick house, and his mom is sitting in there watching TV. I guess she never heard me. And I just start crying, and I hit my knees telling her what was going on because I was so upset, plus being drunk. It was just a mix of emotions running through me. And she gives me a nerve pill to calm me down. And I lay down on the couch, and I was going through my phone, and I seen where Matthew had commented on something on Facebook that I posted earlier that day. We had our work Halloween party at work that day, and we were all of the employees were the emojis or whatever, and I was the cowboy emoji or whatever, and I had a cowboy hat on in a picture, and it was a straw hat, and he commented on it and said it's felt season, talking about a felt cowboy hat. I never commented back or anything. I text him, and I said, how are you going to threaten to kill me and then comment something on Facebook? Because the whole time he was choking me, he was threatening to kill me and all that. And that's when he starts texting me. We were exchanging messages back and forth, and he told me to come get the kids because he had the kids at the time. He told me to come get them because he was about to leave to go pick Libby up. Well, his grandma nor his mom will let me leave, so the grandma goes down there and gets the boys, and she brings the boys back up there into the house with us, and we exchanged a few more messages, and I went to sleep, woke up.
What was the content of those messages?
Oh, just about how he wanted to kill me, Bobby and Libby, and he said he had Libby's keys in her phone or something, and I asked him where Libby was, and he said dead, and which I never thought anything of it, because when he gets drunk like that and gets mad, he always says stuff to that extent. So I never once thought that he was actually going to do something like what he did.
In this story, Montana mentions that she was given a pill to calm down, and this could perhaps explain why she can't be sure of things like where her keys are, and if someone may have borrowed her vehicle that night. She also finally clarifies why she didn't take Matthew's message about Livy being dead serious, though it's still odd she didn't originally bring this up to investigators herself.
What's your opinion of what happened that night after you got home? What's your opinion? What do you think happened?
I'm sorry if I get emotional.
I wouldn't expect you to.
I won't be checking it now because I'm working on this drawing. So I'll check it later. So I'm streaming.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. Elaborate just a little bit for me.
Libby didn't deserve what happened to her. She was young. She had a whole life ahead of her.
You believe Matthew did it? How do you feel about Matthew?
I have so much anger built up toward him.
Because of this or other things?
This and just being irresponsible and stupid and leaving his kids behind.
Any love left between you and him?
I'll always have a special place for him because he's the father to my kids, but
no.
Introducing the Hide and Seek from Bellroy. A traditional wallet on the outside, it hides a few tricks on the inside. Let's take a look. First up, you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 quick access card slots for the cards you use most often, and a larger pocket up top to stack the cards you use less often. Everything stays as slim and streamlined as possible. Plus 1 more card slot tucked in behind. Your bills store flat in the cash section, and when you're out of cash there, you can find your secret stash in a pocket hidden behind the flat, plus a pocket for coins or business cards. That all comes together in a slim silhouette. The Hide and Seek, from Belroy.
Hey, let's go somewhere beachy. I don't like sand. What about Curacao?
Luxury resorts, stunning beaches.
A lot
ocean
of
adventures.
commercials.
We
I have to
a flight
constantly
for that.
pause it because when I'm
Book your
streaming,
Curacao
it
vacation
will
at WestJet.com.
make it like a
After getting
copyright
Montana's
issue.
insight on Livy's death,
I have to
the
constantly
officer
pause
runs
the
Montana through a
skipping
practice
them.
test, one with
It
interesting
was like
results.
5 seconds of audio.
Oh, and just to let you know,
It'll
your
block
body
my
did
video.
respond the way that it should when you tell the
So
truth, when
annoying.
you tell a lie. You are a terrible liar. Your body responds really strong.
I am a terrible liar.
During a polygraph exam, the individual being questioned is asked some easy questions with obvious answers, as well as difficult questions related to their case. To answer each question, Montana is instructed to tap once on her leg for yes and 2 for no.
Regarding Livy's death, do you intend to answer truthfully each question about that? Did you shoot Livy? Did you participate in shooting Livy? Are you covering for the person responsible for Livy's death?
Oddly, Montana's last tap is not 1 or 2. It looks like it bounces about 3 times. Given how clear her other taps were, this is strange. As well, her eyes shift, indicating that perhaps her thoughts are racing in that moment, causing her to tap more than twice. Something about being asked, "Are you covering for the person responsible for Livy's death?" seems to have rattled her. There are major problems with the polygraph. For one, the pneumograph sensor is to monitor the breathing and should be attached around her ribs. The examiner should have been paying attention and noticed if she is an abdomen or chest breather. Either way, the lower tube should be placed above the belly button. He has this placed down too low, near her waist. People don't breathe that low. As well, the cardiovascular sensor, or cardio cuff, should almost always be placed over the brachial artery in the upper portion of the arm. It also is on the opposite arm as the GSR, sweat sensors on her fingertips. In a rare event like missing an arm, it can be placed on the calf of the leg, yet he places it around Montana's calf and didn't even attempt to put it around her arm. It's measuring the heart, which is a long way from the calf. There are many other issues with this. One quick one would be the size of the cuff. The calf muscles are also slanted. During the process of inflating or deflating the cuff, it may slip and won't be secured tightly. There would also be a lot of interference around the cuff. It doesn't make sense it was placed on her calf instead of her arm.
All right, Montana, I explained to you early on before we started, 3 things have to happen to pass the test. 100% truthful. Entirely truthful. Second thing was your body needs to respond the way it should when you tell the truth and you tell a lie. Your body did that. Third thing was to follow instructions. Yes, no. You had one little hang up, no big deal. You failed that test miserably. Terribly. So what does that tell me?
But it tells you I'm not telling the truth, but I'm telling the truth.
This is kind of like what I told you earlier. I believe that you've told me a whole lot of the truth today, but I don't think you've told me everything. You're probably holding something back.
Montana begins showing some ventilating behaviors, pulling at her collar, which is where the term hot under the collar comes from. She's showing her increased anxiety due to being called a liar, and already looks like she's about to start crying.
I know you don't know anything about polygraph, and I don't normally do this with a lot of people, but I want to show you something. See this highlighted area right here? Let me see my cursor. You see this highlighted area right here? You see this right here? Along with your cardio going up, all that is a significant sign of deception when I'm asking you. See that little red right there? Mm-hmm. That's me asking you a question about Livy. Okay? Let's go down here. Here it is again. Look. Same thing. This one flattened out a little bit. There's still one. Now, I will tell you, a lot of times on the first charts that we run, the response is maybe a little bit more higher just because the person hadn't really settled down, you know what I mean? But on the second one, look, there it is again. Here's asked a question about Livy. There it is again, asked you a question about Livy. I mean, it's just every question. When we score these charts, there's a scoring system used, and if you score a -4,
She started doing strange things with her mouth, including lots of lip licking, compressions, and tongue jutting here. She doesn't like that she's being called out. However, it's important to note that none of these things specifically indicate deception. Rather, they're negative responses to what's being said and signs of increased anxiety.
or less, which would be -4, -5, -6, -7, a -4 or less, you failed. What do you think you scored? -19. It's terrible. Terrible.
The police seem convinced that there may have been a woman helping Matthew cover his tracks that night. Despite the mounting evidence showing that someone was helping, Montana maintains her innocence, and there simply isn't enough evidence to confidently make an arrest. One thing to consider, though, is that if Montana was there on the scene, why would Matthew text her and tell her that Livy was dead? Unfortunately, there's nothing else the police can do to get that information out of her. So they're forced to turn to the gossip train of Hemp Hill for more answers. One intriguing theory police are told is that even if Montana wasn't involved in what happened, she may have been jealous of Livy, despite them getting along so well. The key to this theory, Montana's choice to dye her hair dark like Livy's so close to her death. It certainly wasn't anything concrete, but this theory exemplified the complex nature of the case, and it was only going to get more convoluted.
Okay, what do you know about Matthew? You said you don't know him. I know you don't like him. Why don't you like him?
He's just, cocky, always wants to run his mouth and everything. I know he was crazy and his family's crazy and everything, and Matthew's done some dumb before. Yeah, I don't like Matthew. I think before all this, I never liked him. I mean, I just think, I don't care for him.
Have you ever known Matthew to threaten to kill anybody?
He was with Livy, but Montana starts dating somebody else. It just pisses him off, and he's like, I'm going to kill him, or, popping off like that. Yes, I've heard him say it.
Have you ever took those threats as being serious or just...
Honestly, no.
You told me Matthew's a jealous type. He runs around with Montana still, even though they're ex-wives. Doesn't know her. Runs around with Levy. And then we have the third girl that these two don't even know about. And yet he's jealous because they're seeing.
That's kind of.
Is that Matthew or is that?
That's kind of him. Like, I hate to say that, but that's the way I see it.
Can you tell me Matthew's, was he aggravated? Did he seem aggravated that night? Was he happy? Was he?
And before everybody started getting there and everything, it was just being Bobby and him. I mean, he'd been drinking whiskey for like 3 weeks straight. And he'd been acting different than he normally acts. He'd been waking up like at daylight and starting drinking whiskey and drink all day long and all night.
So Levy's told you in the past that Matthew would threaten. What would he threaten to do?
Well, she's told me there's been times where he's threatened to hit her or whatever, and then one day they had gotten into an argument and she came to Taylor's house, and I went over there with her, and we were all just laying in Taylor's bed, and she was telling us about how, I don't remember if she said that Matthew threatened to or if he really did, but she said something about how he had threatened or either did pull a gun on her.
Have you ever known Matthew to be violent towards Livy or Montana?
Yeah, both of them.
Have you physically seen that?
It's true. I've seen bruises and cuts and all that. And he's told me he's done it before with his own mouth.
You've seen bruises and cuts on who?
Both of them.
On both Livy and Montana?
In an exclusive interview with Ewu, Colby Pearson, a former friend of Matthew and Livy, gives more insight into the tumultuous relationship hinted at by the residents of Hemp Hill.
When they first got together, it was a toxic relationship to start. Me, Kaylee, Matthew, and Livy used to hang out together, drinking in my garage, having fires. Me and Matthew hunted, fished, stuff like that together. I didn't have any real feelings about it until he started getting physical with her, and then I did have some feelings about that. Livy would tell Kaylee, and Kaylee naturally would tell me, my buddy that I've known for forever, and he's not doing the right thing, but they're just gonna get back together next week, and then I'm gonna look like a bad guy, and I really wish I'd navigated it in a different way. It was a rocky road. I've came to terms with it. I don't think that I would have ever changed anything, no matter if I would have got physical with him, and shown him how it felt, or that's what I really wanted to do. I mean, hindsight, I wish I would have, but it wouldn't have changed anything. I think it'll just created more drama, and I think we still would have been dealing with the same outcome.
While many people in Hemp Hill had heard rumors of Matthew's alleged abuse, Colby says he had a first-hand experience.
Me and Kaylee were in bed one night. Livy called Kaylee and said that she was walking down 944. Matthew had beat her up and kicked her out of the truck. Me and Kaylee get up and we head out to 944, which is just right up the road. Taylor, neighbors, Livy's best friend, had beat us there and picked her up. Livy and Matthew were living at Taylor's house at this time. So we get the call from Taylor that she's picked her up and they're back at Taylor's house. Matthew is supposed to be coming to get all his things from Taylor's house because, you know, they're breaking up again. So me and Kaylee decided to stay, you know, just in case things got physical again. I never personally, with my own two eyes, seen it. But that night, he had drug her out of the truck by her hair. And she, like, had hair missing where he had, like, pulled it and drug her out of the truck. He showed up, got all his stuff, and I sat in the car in the driveway until he got there. And I didn't want it to be known that I was there. I was just hanging out just in case anything got crazy. He started getting pretty loud and acted like he was going to get violent again. And when he did, we had really dark tinted windows on Kaylee's car. That's what we were in. He was like right outside my door in his truck. And he started getting loud because Taylor was being loud with him. So when that happened, I stepped out. And when I stepped out, it was all this, oh, she hit me first, yada, 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 whatever, and kind of got him calmed down a little bit and was like, man, just, you know, let's just get your stuff packed, get out of here. You know, you should probably go. Nothing happened that night. I remember that story really good.
Matthew's alleged treatment of Livy is nothing short of horrific. In another exclusive interview, Ty Pearson, Colby's brother, talks about Matthew's alleged conduct towards other women.
There was his ex-wife. She had told a few people about the abuse, the situation that she was in, and she actually left and got away from it. But yeah, that's probably the point where people started seeing his aggression towards women was with her.
Want a gambling experience made just for you? Our state-of-the-art...
The people of Hemp Hill were clearly eager to tell the police what they knew and had heard through the grapevine. Through this information, the police were able to put together most of the events leading up to Livy's death. Following his breakup with Livy in early October, Matthew had been on a downward spiral. Weeks of constant drinking had turned him into a shell of the person he was, and it was only a matter of time until he snapped. Driven by jealousy, Matthew attacked Montana at Bobby's house and eventually chased her to his grandparents' house and damaged her car. Eventually, he must have gotten back in his car and searched for Livy. Although they had little information about what might have transpired between the two that night, investigators were able to determine that Matthew ran Livy off the side of the road before kicking and hitting her car. Eventually, he grabbed his rifle and shot her. It's believed that he took her keys and stole his cousin's car sometime after Livy had died. What still isn't clear, though, is exactly why he then decided to curl up into the fetal position near Livy's car and wait for someone to discover him. Even though the police now had a better idea of what really happened October 30th, there was still plenty of drama for them to deal with, because this case was far from over. Ranging from conspiracy theories involving the cartel to a prisoner on the run, and more than one arrest. When prosecutors failed to indict Matthew within 90 days of his arrest, he was out of jail on a lowered bail of only $50,000. Having Matthew back on the streets was a recipe for disaster, and tensions were high all throughout town. While Matthew's mother, Cindy, may have been spamming local Facebook groups with messages about her son's innocence, most people in town fully believed he was guilty, including Darcy Bass, Livy's mother. Things turned ugly when Darcy and Matthew ran into each other at a gas station, and there was a heated exchange. Luckily, the two were separated before either of them could do any damage to each other, but it was clear to everyone that the town was reaching a breaking point. However, before things could boil over, more charges are soon brought against Matthew by Montana, leading to his second but not final arrest.
First one is for the criminal mischief to Montana's vehicle, and the second one is for the assault on Montana, which occurred over at Bobby O's house. Okay? I don't know if your attorney told you this information or not, and I just want to make sure you understand. And I'll make sure she understands after I get you inside. I'll come back out and talk to you.
Oh, I can't go in?
No,
You're going to really take him from me?
I have no choice, man. He's under indictment.
You know, JP, she's a liar.
For a brief moment following Matthew's arrest, it seemed as though things might calm down. But later that very same afternoon, Darcy dropped by with issues about this case, this time surrounding Cindy.
You want me to show you something about Cindy? And that's going to be my next thing? And she might be thinking she's out there helping. What she ended up doing is she's going to end up hurting. So this is all I said to her. I said, look, it's starting to bother me that you keep repeating it. Like she screams at me all these words. But she's being nice, okay?
Mm-hmm.
My son, I know my son is innocent. We want the truth as much as anyone does, okay? So I said, can you please stop? How do you know that, Cindy, if he doesn't remember? He said he was going to kill her, and she's killed. Please tell me how you know he is innocent. But look at this before. This is how much just look at this, okay? It's very...
Constant.
No, look at these. No, just watch. Look at this. This is, I mean, it was extreme. It was a lot, you know. She got me with the little boys, you know.
Well, they all say the same thing, pretty much.
Oh, no.
No?
Oh, no. She's saying all kinds of things. All kinds of things. Like, she knew something that I need to go and meet her and talk to her about, and which I didn't, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She's saying that, oh, my daughter liked to fight and all this stuff.
Based on Cindy's alleged harassment of Darcy, it's clear that she's willing to do a lot if she thinks it's what's best for her son. But just how far would Cindy be willing to go? Seemingly, Cindy wasn't the only one who believed in Matthew's innocence. Within a Facebook group known as the Matthew Edgar Case, Hemp Hill, Texas Unfiltered, a conspiracy began to spread that Matthew had become $30,000 in debt with a drug cartel. The theory then claims that members of this cartel murdered Livy, staged the crime scene in order to frame Matthew, and then injected Matthew with unknown drugs to erase his memory. Despite how outlandish and ludicrous this theory is, the Facebook group is still active, with select members still posting evidence that supposedly backs up their claims. This evidence usually consists of text messages about local drug dealers or posts tearing apart the information provided by the police. On January 25, 2022, Matthew Edgar's long-awaited trial finally began. Still claiming that he had no memories of the night in question, Matthew entered a not guilty plea. The first 2 days of the trial proceeded normally. However, one glaring issue halted the trial on the third and final day. Matthew Edgar was nowhere to be found. It appeared that while out on bond, Matthew made a run for it, hoping to escape his inevitable conviction.
Come to the trial, day one, everything was, they didn't really lean either way. And day two, it started leaning more towards he was going to prison. And I believe that's when he was like, he's got to go. He got to get out of there. It was all surrounded by his grandparents' house. And we got there and we all went looking for him. I mean, everybody. From that day, from what I understood, from what I talked to everybody that was there, they turned dogs loose on his trail, and they made a circle through the woods, came out to the highway, and lost his scent. So somebody picked him up at the highway.
Matthew's disappearance came as a surprise to many, as there had been no signs that he was planning something so daring. Rumors soon began to surface about the morning of his disappearance.
This is the story that was told when law enforcement got there is that he was on the phone with his lawyer. He got mad. He got a gun out of the house and he took off walking, is what they told law enforcement. He did have an ankle monitor on, which obviously doesn't do any good when they expect the fugitive to charge the ankle monitor.
Despite his absence, it was eventually decided that his trial would continue without him. In absentia, Matthew was found guilty for Livy's murder and was sentenced to 99 years in prison. While Matthew's sentencing might have brought Livy a sliver of justice, the community of Hemp Hill wouldn't be satisfied until her killer was behind bars. Unfortunately, it would be quite some time until that became a reality. It was believed that Matthew was hiding out somewhere in Sabine County with the alleged assistance of his family. And on December 29, 2022, after over 11 months of being one of Texas's most wanted fugitives, Matthew was finally caught.
I bet it probably wasn't an hour after they found him that Sabine County posted on their Facebook page his apprehension photo. From what I understand, they were tipped off that he had come back around for the holidays because it was around Christmas that he was caught. From what I understand, they were tipped off and nobody was told anything. They just kind of moved in and waited and watched.
Few details have been released about the apprehension, but it was announced that Matthew was found in a small house near his grandparents' home in rural Sabine County. According to the federal agents who captured Matthew, he was out smoking a cigarette on the back porch of the house when they pulled up. Although the citizens of Hemp Hill could breathe a sigh of relief with Matthew's capture, there was now a new worry for them. Who had helped Matthew escape? Matthew's proximity to his grandparents' house led many to believe that his family may have been involved. And in November 2023, it was announced that Cindy Edgar, Matthew's mother, had turned herself in and was charged for hindering the apprehension or prosecution of a known felon. She's not been found guilty, and the results of this charge are still pending.
I think she needs to be the first of others.
With his third and final arrest, Matthew is finally facing justice for the terror and suffering he wreaked on Livy and her loved ones.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube and ad-free videos on the YouTube Kids app, so kids can bounce the Kids Bop without missing a beat. Try 1 month free of charge.
Hey Scott, Scott here. I'm recording this for you to open at a...
Where's my baby? Calm down. Where's my taco?
We're going to search outbuildings, trailers, everything.
Okay, no, we have the guns because those kids are here.
Alright, we're going to keep going. I'm almost done all the base colors. So I'm going to keep going until I'm done that. And maybe try throwing some shadows and highlights and then, add all the details and stuff. But we're going to keep going. Alright, the new crime doc. Again, if you like what you see, feel free to follow me on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, X, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon for more. At Shivani Hall Art. Alright, we're gonna keep going. I'm just taking my time with this. I will be posting a video and the final artwork on my platforms. Yeah, follow those. Links in the bio. Linktree. Alright, let's go.
We're going to search outbuildings, trailers, everything.
Okay, no, we have the guns because those kids are here.
Okay, just shut up. Am I really gonna get arrested right now?
You know how long it's gonna take? I have plans.
What type of audiobooks do we listen to?
The serial killer ones.
The serial killer ones?
On the morning of March 12, 2022, 18-year-old Naomi Irian suddenly vanished from a Walmart parking lot in Fernley, Nevada, after a strange man pacing around the corner got into her car and drove away with her. With only a hazy CCTV video to rely on, investigators race against time to try and identify the mystery man. When they do, nothing can prepare them for the truth behind Naomi's sudden disappearance. This is the exact moment Zulema Silas realized that the truth about what really happened to the missing Naomi Irian had been uncovered. The following footage has never been seen before.
Do you need a minute? There's some Kleenexes right there for you.
Well, I am sorry. It is really difficult to be hearing all the stuff that they're saying about you, everything that I am remembering about you.
Put your hands behind your back.
Oh, come on, I can't. I've got wrecked shoulders.
As best you can.
On the morning of March 13th, 2022, the Lyon County Sheriff's Office receives a distressing call from Casey Valley. He informs them that his 18-year-old sister, Naomi Irian, hasn't returned home since she headed to work the day before. He explains that he tried calling her multiple times but couldn't get through. He also checked and there's been no activity on her bank account. In an exclusive interview with EWU, Casey Valley explains the incident.
And so she would typically show up at the Walmart parking lot here in Fernley at about 5 in the morning. The bus picked up around 5:15, between 5:15 and 5:20, I believe. She would sit there for 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was. And she would just scroll on her phone for a little while. And as far as I know, at that point, she went to work.
Casey went to bed before he saw if Naomi came home that Saturday night, which was typical for them.
So the next day I wake up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. She's not home, which is not unusual, right? Because she works so early. It did seem kind of weird to me because, I didn't really see a whole lot of evidence that she had been home that day, but that wasn't really super unusual either. I started reaching out to her at that point, but I wasn't hearing anything back.
After not hearing from Naomi all day, Casey decided to wait up on Sunday for her to come home again. But when she didn't, he called his mom and Naomi's friends, hoping some had heard from her. No one had heard from her since before Friday.
And so I called the police and I attempt to make a missing persons report. The dispatcher said that the deputy was going to come to my house and take the report in person. Rather than that happening, the deputy calls me 2 hours later. He calls me at about 11:30 at night. And I tell him what's going on. And he's like, listen, I'm not going to put out a missing persons report on this. 18-year-olds, she's 18. She can do what she wants. You don't have really any evidence to show that anything happened, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, this isn't normal for her because if she didn't come home today, then she probably wasn't even at work today. I don't know what happened. And she's not answering any of her friends or anything like that. And all of her Snapchats from everybody, she's Snapchat a lot. All of her Snapchats from everybody were not delivered and stuff like that. So it just seemed completely a red flag to anybody that knew her.
Yes! Now!
And this deputy refused to make a missing persons report.
Stunned and disheartened by the complete absence of assistance from the authorities, Casey takes it upon himself to find his younger sister.
With FanDuel, every night is a watch party.
Hi. Are you bullying Teddy? Are you bullying Teddy? He's so little. My guy, he's so little. Look at him. You can't bully him. No. No. You can't bully the baby. He's just a baby. He's just a baby. No! Anyways, end of story. I have a 100-pound pit bull sitting on my lap and this thing licking my arm for some reason. And he's eating his own ass.
The deputy kind of got in my head a little bit, kind of gaslit me a bit about, she's probably fine, blah, 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 all this stuff. My girlfriend at the time, Nikki, she and I were talking, and she had the idea of, well, we should just go to Walmart and see if they'll let us look at the security footage and just see if she even showed up to work on Saturday. So that's what we did. She and I went over there. We tracked down the security people who were following shoplifters out in the store and told them what the situation was, and they were pretty sympathetic. So they brought us into their little security shack. It took us like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to just find the right footage, the right angle where she normally parked.
What he sees in this surveillance footage from Walmart makes his blood run cold. Casey knew where Naomi parked because he often saw her car in the same spot whenever he would go to Walmart.
Video quality wasn't great, but I could recognize her car. She was driving a 1992 Mercury Sable. There's not a whole lot of those left on the road these days, but it's pretty distinctive even in a grainy video. I was like, and the time matched up with when I thought that she would be showing up, and I saw the car pull in there. And we're watching this at like 4 or 5x speed. So we watched the car pull in. I was like, oh, that's her car, almost for sure. And before we get the video stopped in order to slow it down, the car leaves again. And I'm like, what the heck?
At 5:09 a.m. on March 12, 2022, Naomi pulls over in the Walmart parking lot and waits inside her car. A few moments later, a strange man appears on the other side of the lot. He stares at her car for a few minutes. Soon he begins to walk towards the vehicle and reaches the driver's side. Almost in an instant, he slips into the driver's seat and drives out of the parking lot. Disturbingly, Naomi doesn't get out of the vehicle at any point in the footage. Utterly consumed by panic, Casey immediately calls the sheriff's office once again and informs them about the surveillance footage.
At that point, I call the dispatcher again, and I tell them that I have, potential evidence of kidnapping of my sister, and they send the same deputy that I talked to the night before on the phone, and he shows up about 20 minutes later. And at this point, we have some more video identified, and we have video of the guy standing there looking out from the sidewalk and circling around and going into her car. The police officer sits there and looks at it, and he says, I don't know, this looks like a drug deal to me. I was like, my sister did not do drugs, and he was just trying to cover his own ass, right? Because he didn't take my report the night before. Basically, he tells me, well, I'm not going to file a missing persons report right now still, but we'll put out a bolo, be on the lookout for her car. I was like, okay, I'm not really happy with that, but if that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do.
Despite finding compelling evidence that proves his sister is in grave danger,
Thank you.
Casey's repeated pleas for help are not taken seriously,
Meek
leaving
81.
him in absolute despair
Yeah.
and isolation.
Basically, I felt...
I'm just saving my work and slowly working on this. Yeah, if you like what you see, feel free to follow. I'll be posting the full rendered artwork on Instagram and Twitter and X and TikTok and all that stuff. So yeah, like you see, feel free to follow me. Find Hall Art. Links in the bio. And I'm just backing up and saving my work right now.
So alone. So I felt so isolated. I felt like kind of betrayed by the sheriff's department. I felt very scared about what happened to my sister, and I just really couldn't process what was going on at all.
On the other hand, Naomi's and Casey's parents, who were in Africa at the time, struggled to cope with the news. In an exclusive interview with Iwu, Naomi's mother, Diana Arian, shares how they tried their best to help Casey find Naomi.
Early Monday morning, before even it was light, my husband came upstairs because he was getting ready to go to work. My husband came upstairs in tears, and he said that Naomi had been kidnapped. And immediately I was like, what? What are you talking? What? And he said, Casey just called. He saw on a surveillance video someone take Naomi in her car. And then we were holding each other and we were crying and we were asking each other, what do we do? What do we do? Because we're in Africa. We're halfway around the world. And one of my husband's coworkers, one of our friends, is an FBI agent. And my immediate instinct was to call him. So that's what I did. I immediately got on the phone and called our friends, and I was not in a state I couldn't really speak. So I handed the phone to my husband.
Naomi and Casey's father went to the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria, South Africa, where he was working at the time and was able to get an emergency flight to the United States that day. As Casey's father flies into the country, his conversation with the FBI reaps some positive results, as they seem to be taking the case quite seriously.
So the next day, I get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I have like a spotlight, and I'm just driving all the roads out in the desert near Fernley, just looking for any trace of her car. At about 9:30 in the morning, I get a call from Lyon County Sheriff's Department, a detective. He assures me that they're taking the matter very seriously. The missing persons report has been filed at this point, and they have every spare person on the force out looking for my sister's car.
It's Soup, I love you. The mattress cover has changed my life, and here is why. I adjust my temperature.
2 days after Naomi went missing, the investigators finally take up the case in earnest. They begin with the video Casey found at Walmart. After carefully examining the surveillance footage multiple times, a triangulation and recreation method is used to determine that the person getting into the car with Naomi is between 6 and 6 feet 3 inches in height. They also identify that the suspect was wearing a pair of blue jeans, a light-colored hooded sweatshirt, and a face mask that morning. However, since he stood on the other side of the camera, they're unable to see his face or many other details. Naomi's phone number is run through the police database, but there aren't any location pings as it had been turned off. With only one hazy CCTV video footage and a suspect they're unable to identify, the investigators begin by running a thorough background check into Naomi Arian's life. Casey assists by sharing everything about Naomi and his family. Including Naomi, he has 6 siblings who moved to the United States only a year ago after living in sheltered communities in Russia, Germany, and South Africa as a result of their father's job with the State Department.
So she kind of just wanted to come over here and get a feel for what it was really like to be in America and what it was like to be an adult.
I was gonna move out, but then my brother was like, oh, what if you just pay me and rent out the rooms in the house and then you can live here? Ooh. And I'm like, oh, that actually sounds pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie. And I would get to stay here. It's a place where I'm comfortable, a neighborhood that I know, easy to get to my work, It's a pretty good deal. It'll be interesting.
Kind of get away from the parents, have a little bit of freedom. And the first thing she did before she even really got here, actually, was get a job. And she started working for Panasonic.
To find out more, the investigators dispatch some officers to mark out
Is
her
my
regular
stream?
work
Is it
week.
really buffering?
They examine the surveillance recordings from various...
Is it really buffering like that? I got good stream on my end. Maybe it's on... I'm not sure. But yeah. Alright. Yeah, feel free to check me out, though.
...stores along the route, hoping to identify any peculiar incidents. Although they observe no apparent suspicious behavior, they make a significant discovery while reviewing the footage from a gas station where Naomi had stopped by to purchase snacks on her way to work. In the footage, she's seen wearing a gray sweater paired with a blue Panasonic t-shirt and gray joggers. The officers take a screenshot of Naomi from the store and submit it to the investigators. This picture potentially marks the last time she was seen before the kidnapping. The investigators release Naomi's details with the picture to the media and request everyone to be on the lookout for the missing 18-year-old. As word of Naomi's kidnapping spreads, Casey sets up several search parties to help find her, and the community in Fernley steps up to assist the family.
The ladies in the local area in my son's neighborhood established a meal train. So we had meals made for us. So our job was to find her, and that was our full-time job. And my husband was out there with the FBI every day, and my son was out there searching the desert every day. You know, we didn't stop.
Despite releasing Naomi's picture and details, the investigators failed to discover any substantial leads. That is, until they combed through the devices she used. Here they find the first hint of a lead. Naomi went on a date with an unknown man a day before she vanished. Naomi had told Casey that she'd visited a thrift store with the man and everything seemed normal, but maybe it hadn't been as innocuous as she thought. Investigators also find out that Naomi had previously complained about being harassed at work. Managers from Naomi's workplace state that they knew about her allegations and had resolved the matter internally. Eventually, it's concluded that this line of inquiry is another dead end. It's around this point that the Lyon County detectives drop a bombshell.
Have you approached it at all?
So I went up to it just to make sure nobody was in it, and that's it.
All right. Did you see any shoe impressions?
No, so I did walk around it just to look at all angles, make sure nobody was in, like tucked in or anything. But I was just driving all over looking for it, and as I was getting off here, I saw it sitting there.
They'd found Naomi's car abandoned in a dirt lot near a paint manufacturing company, just half a mile away from the place of her kidnapping. While this was a huge discovery, there was still no sign of Naomi or her abductor. Still, hope is not lost as the area where Naomi's car was found had several stores with CCTV. The detectives request surveillance footage from all nearby businesses and begin to review hours of footage from the day of Naomi's kidnapping. They soon find that some of the surveillance had actually captured a spine-chilling incident from the afternoon following Naomi's kidnapping. Naomi's car can be seen on the road nearby and later parked in the dirt lot at 3:30 p.m., 10 hours after her kidnapping. An unknown suspect gets out of Naomi's car and walks on the road. A short time later, at 4:12 p.m., a gray, bluish truck drives by the same road and parks close to Naomi's car. The driver gets out, goes back to Naomi's car, and shifts it to another spot in the dirt lot. Then the driver leaves the car, gets back in his truck, and drives away. Investigators are still unable to identify the unknown driver at that distance, and even more concerning is that they don't see Naomi anywhere in the footage. Perhaps he'd moved her to another location by then. There's also another possibility. Is this man the same person as the one they saw in the morning, or were more people involved? Screenshots of the suspect's truck are released to the media, along with a plea asking the community to keep an eye out. What could be seen in the footage, though, helped to identify the truck as potentially being manufactured by Chevrolet. With little else to go on, the investigators visit multiple Chevrolet dealerships in the area to learn more about the vehicle. Every Chevrolet dealership identifies the vehicle as a 2020 to 2022 Chevrolet High Country 2500 or 3500 model, with possible color variations in either a metallic blue or metallic gray. The Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles then sent a list of the same make and model of the vehicles that are in western Nevada. Though at first disheartened to see the list contains hundreds of trucks, an analysis team soon eliminate vehicles that don't match the footage. As the list of the trucks grows shorter, the investigators start verifying where the license plate numbers are registered.
You can't always predict the future, but with over 155 years of experience,
One of these addresses piques the investigating team's interest. As compared to the other addresses, it looks run down, leaving the investigators to wonder how someone from the residence could afford a $60,000 to $80,000 vehicle. They soon find out that the truck is registered to Troy Driver, and a search of his name through police databases reveals a daunting array of information. Troy Driver had a substantial criminal history that dates back to 1994, It started with animal cruelty at age 14 and turned into a 15-year jail time for assault, burglary, and armed robbery in his later years. He was also a suspect in an assault case out of Elko County in Nevada. Moreover, his height aligned with the potential range of the suspect's height in Naomi's kidnapping case. Based on his criminal history and the truck, Troy Driver immediately becomes a person of interest in the case. He lives with his girlfriend Zulema Silas and her children and works at a mining company. Checking his girlfriend's Facebook, they find pictures of Troy, including one of him wearing a pair of brown hiking shoes that looks similar to what the suspect wore in the Walmart parking lot footage. With no other leads, investigators strategically place patrol officers near Troy Driver's residence to keep a close watch on him. The next step is acquiring a warrant to inspect Troy's phone records to determine his location on the day of Naomi's kidnapping. Troy Driver possessed 2 phones, one for work and the other for his office, and an astonishing revelation emerges. The location data for both phones indicated that he was nowhere near Naomi. In fact, he'd remained at home throughout the day. However, undeterred by this setback, the detectives explore a different angle by reviewing the activities on both devices. Their suspicions are confirmed when the report reveals concerning evidence. Despite the location data suggesting Troy's presence at home, there was a suspicious absence of any activity on either phone. This was inconsistent with how Troy normally uses his phones. All of this was still fairly circumstantial. There was no clear link between Troy Driver and Naomi Urian, but the pressure was on to find Naomi. While the focus was on Troy, another breakthrough emerges from the surveillance footage. The same truck seen near Naomi's car is spotted on the highway and on the opposite side of the Walmart parking lot on the day of Naomi's abduction. The truck owner had been parked in the dirt area of the Walmart parking lot at 4:22 a.m. that morning. But this isn't the most chilling part. Not only were they there before Naomi arrived, the person could be seen pacing around as if waiting for something, as if expecting Naomi's arrival. Since investigators already knew where this person had left Naomi's car on the afternoon of her abduction, they then established a route from that location to Walmart's dirt lot, where the individual had parked their truck. Footage showed them walking back to their truck. And not only that, when the suspect strolled from Naomi's vehicle to his truck, he inadvertently passed right in front of the CCTV camera. The sight sent shivers down the spines of the entire investigating team. It was Troy Driver. On March 25th, a full 13 days after Naomi's kidnapping, the investigators take Troy Driver into custody.
I'll cuff. Just so we don't have to switch. Don't move. Troy Driver?
Yes.
You have anything on you that's going to poke, prod, stab me?
I've got a pocket knife in my front left pocket.
Okay, aside from that?
No.
Okay, I'm going to roll you over on your right side, okay?
Yep.
All right, put your knee up this way. Whoever's going up to that building, tell them I'll come up with the warrant here shortly. Okay. Will you take a photo of that and then send that to Ty? Say, let him know one's in custody. All right, let's roll you over to this side.
Is someone calling you Nick?
Probably.
Try to answer on your phone.
You want to finish searching? Okay. Boss speaking. Hey. We just got him in custody. Yep. Did we get the keys to this vehicle?
I don't have any keys.
You don't have keys to this vehicle?
I knew somebody took them.
Okay, but you did have them on you?
You had like the 2 bags with you? Where are the keys?
You guys took them.
Well, yeah, but are they in one of those bags or where?
No, they were on my belt clip. You guys took the keys.
Okay. He's pretty calm for having a. Yeah, he asked what it was for. We told him not going to tell him at this time, but you are under blah blah blah, and he said okay. Hasn't said much. Yeah, he wasn't asking questions. He was shocked just due to the abruptness of it, but not, not his first rodeo type. Yeah. So there's your truck keys, correct? Okay. Does that go to?
It's the chip for the office door.
To get in the office door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did you take your camera off and go into that truck over there a minute ago?
I didn't take my camera off.
Your camera was sitting on the top of the hood right here when you went over into that
was
truck.
to crawl back under and grab a tracker.
Okay.
I couldn't fit with my gear.
Is he surprised?
I mean, I think element and surprise, but not overall. He's very calm demeanor. All right, due to the long drive, we're going to get you out real quick. We're going to set you into 2 cuffs, okay? So I'll separate your shoulders a little bit.
It's more than a carpet. It's a faraway land. We're helping build more housing so you can build your home. Learn more at ontario.ca/morehomes.
To avoid digital threats, just turn on NordVPN. Improve your protection against trackers, malicious websites, and malware.
After arresting Troy and bringing him to the station, the officers get warrants to search Troy's residence and his mother's, and she's none too happy with this development.
Hello? Yeah. I'll let you get the dogs locked up, and then we'll have a conversation real quick, please.
It takes all this to have a conversation.
And then this is Detective Pointer. He's got a search warrant for your residence. So who else is inside besides you 3 and the other little girl?
That's it.
Just the 4 of you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
How's it going, guys? Can we come on in and make sure there's nobody else in here, and then we'll talk to you on the side, and we'll get what we have to get going, okay? There's nobody else in the house?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I answered that.
Yeah. Sir, could you come over here with me?
Yeah.
Rhonda, what do
I
you...
have a gun on. Do I need to take it off to make you guys not shoot me?
Come over here, please. Come over here, please. We'll secure it real quick while we're talking, if you don't mind.
Just leave it.
Put your hands behind your back.
Oh, come on, I can't. I've got wrecked shoulders.
As best you can.
That's it.
Ty, you good with him?
Yeah.
I have a CCW.
We know you have a CCW.
Do you not have any weapons on you, did you say? Sure. Do you have any guns or anything on you?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Rhonda, can we go talk, where's a good place where we can talk outside for a minute?
The back porch, I guess.
Well, let's just, that's fine.
You're going to trash our house like you did the other one over here?
Okay, can
Come on over here.
copy of the search warrant,
As soon as we get somewhere, we're gonna have you sit here and look at it. Actually, let's just go over here by this trailer.
I've got really bad knees and I've been up all day. I'd like to sit on the back.
No, we have to be safe. I understand you guys aren't happy about us being here, but we have a job to do.
So do I need to say I'm not going to say anything without an attorney?
We just want to we're not here to question you.
You're not under arrest. You're not a suspect of anything.
We're trying to explain to you guys what's going on.
Oh, we know. I talk to my son every morning.
Let's just stay down here for a minute until they get the house cleared. So here's the situation. We have a search warrant signed by a judge that allows us to look for firearms, okay? And we're going to seize firearms from this residence because we have probable cause to believe that Troy has firearms in this residence.
Oh, not at all.
Okay, just shut up. They can
Okay.
go. They're not going to. They don't believe us. Nobody's in there. You think you're going to believe us that Troy has no firearms here?
Hey, can you hang out too?
I'm throwing this away.
Okay. After that, we need you to stay somewhere with us. Okay? Can you keep the 2 children occupied on the side for a few minutes?
Quick question. I want to
Sure.
know. Why do I take in our firearms?
Well, we have probable cause to believe that Troy has firearms over here.
But you don't. I
If
mean,
they're registered to us, you're going to take them.
Well, we're going to take him to the lab and see if there's any DNA or fingerprints that belong to Troy on any firearms in this residence.
Okay.
So if there is some, and you would tell us about it now, we don't have to search the house and tear everything apart looking for anything.
There isn't. Okay.
What do you mean? Tell you what?
Well, how many firearms are in the residence?
Altogether, counting the 22.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the rifle, the shotgun, and
we put them all locked up because we had the kids here. We didn't want guns out when the kids were here.
Okay.
And that's it. We have the one you took. We have your 44.
Yeah. And the
a shotgun and a 22.
Do you have any other firearms in this house?
No.
You're welcome to look. Just
Okay.
don't trash my house.
Well, we're going to search outbuildings, trailers,
Have at it.
everything.
Okay. Have at it.
Well, no, we have the guns because those kids are here. I got the shotgun, the 22, and a gun that doesn't even work in the 2-horse trailer.
Okay.
It's locked up there.
Okay. Is there any other firearms here?
We answered that.
I'm
There
just
are no other firearms.
asking. I know you're not happy with the police
Okay,
about this whole
can I just
situation.
answer a question once? I mean, do I have to be?
Yeah.
I'm not unintelligent. I understand what you're saying to me. I
Okay,
answered.
and you have
what
to understand that people are dishonest with us all the time. So
Well, I'm
forgive
not.
us if we ask you a question
Guaranteed
more
I'm
than
not
once.
dishonest.
Okay. Well, I
And
don't,
you're more than welcome to go search our house, but please don't trash it.
well, we don't want to.
There's no need to.
Okay, let me ask you something. Did Troy bring firearms over here in the last 2 weeks?
No.
No.
Okay.
I haven't even seen him. That way.
No, he came over.
Well, I was shooting horses. So
Yeah.
I might have missed him.
He came over and helped me with something. I can't remember something I needed help with. And that's it.
Okay.
He rarely comes over here because he's working all the time.
Okay. All right, well, let's have a seat up there on the porch if you guys don't mind, and we'll let these guys take pictures, and then we'll grab the guns, and we'll be on our way.
Not a problem.
After looking through his mother's residence and seizing his car as evidence, investigators bring in Troy's girlfriend, Zalima, and her children for interviews. To their utter dismay, though, there's still no sign of Naomi anywhere.
Zakat is an opportunity granted to every believer to share some of the blessings of wealth with those most in need.
So we're gonna go to the second patrol car here, okay?
Okay. Are we like in trouble or something?
Were you actually like in the shower?
Yeah, I wasn't, but I had my phone was connected to speaker, so I was playing music, and like I thought it was just me and my brother home, and I thought I heard a bunch of yelling, and I was like, let me check just in case, and I opened the door, and they were all standing outside the bathroom, and I was like, what the heck? And they were like, get on the ground. Yeah. No, I'm just bored. No, I want my phone. Do you know how long it's gonna take? I have plans.
Am I really gonna get arrested right now? I'm really getting arrested right now. Wow. Wow.
I don't know if it's anything worth checking, but I cleared it. There was no visible bodies. Yeah. Nobody armed.
I understand that. We're going to have one of the investigators come speak with you right quick, okay? Yeah, they'll bring him back here, ma'am. Just wait back here, please.
Get over here.
Okay, just wait back here.
It's not the reaction from her that I expected if she didn't know anything.
Correct.
So was she angry?
Oh, yeah.
At us?
Yeah.
She's pissed about the whole thing.
Hey, what's up, Troy? My name's Eric. This is Mike. We work with the Lyon County Sheriff's Office. What the hell am I doing here? Well, that's what we'd like to talk to you about. Explain to you everything that's going on, okay? Your legal name is Troy. And what's your last name?
Driver.
Driver?
Why am I here?
We're gonna get to it. Well, oh yeah, I'll explain to you. I gotta fill this thing out. Where do you work at right now?
I work at Leadcore, but
okay.
People just saw fit to pull guns on me and throw me on the ground in front of my office. So I'm probably not looking at a job. I really would like to know why I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll explain. How long have you worked at Leadcore?
2.5 years.
Okay. Where'd you get thrown on the ground at?
Didn't throw me on the ground. I was told to get on the ground in front of the office in Reno.
Reno. Okay, so you work like at Leadcore in Reno. Criminal record? Have you ever been arrested before?
Yes.
What's the worst thing you've been arrested for?
I was arrested when I was 17 for armed robberies.
Did you go to prison for that?
I did.
How long?
15 years.
Holy where at?
California.
Damn. 15 years in prison in California?
Yep.
Do you need anything to eat or drink?
No, I want to get going here.
Okay. Can you tell me about any vehicles registered to you?
I have a Jeep, a 95 Jeep.
What color?
Black.
Black. Okay. Is it like a Wrangler or
It's a Wrangler.
Wrangler? Okay.
I have a 2020 Chevy 3500 Silverado.
2020 Chevy 3500?
Yes.
What color is that?
Gray. And I have a 1982 Lincoln Mark 7. 81 or 82.
What color is that?
Black.
Black. Okay. Are you currently on parole or probation?
No.
Okay. All right. So while we're in here, you understand you have the right to remain silent, and you understand that you have anything you say can will be used against you in the court of law. Do you understand you have the right to an attorney? And do you understand you cannot afford an attorney won't be appointed for you?
Okay.
Okay. You understand all that stuff?
I understand.
Okay. So have you been paying attention to the news lately the last couple days?
Not really. I haven't been paying attention. Why?
Okay. Are you aware of the kidnapping case involving Naomi Irion?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell me about that?
My girlfriend sent me a Facebook thing on it, and I read that. She was kidnapped, and a truck that looked a lot like mine, they said they were looking for.
Hello.
Is that why I'm here?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you said it, right? You have a truck that looks just like it.
Because I have a truck that looks like that. Am I being charged with this?
Yes. Yeah, you're being charged.
I'm a lawyer.
Okay. All right.
No. I want a lawyer.
Troy Driver protests his innocence and invokes his right to a lawyer, blatantly refusing to speak with the investigators. Still, they uncover that his girlfriend's family had a gathering on the weekend of Naomi's kidnapping, but Troy didn't attend as he said he was at work. To find out more about Troy's absence and his whereabouts, investigators interview Zalima herself. When she's told about the seriousness of Troy's past crime in California, she shares that he and his mother had described it to her as something much less serious. Investigators are hoping that Zalima can help them finally find Naomi, as at this point they still have no idea where she is, or even where to look. It's through this interview that they discover even more disturbing revelations.
But you know what? His mom stuck behind him after everything that he did in California. And he did tell me about that, kind of. I didn't know all the details. He never was. He just said, well, they involved me and convicted me in murder. Like trying to separate himself from like the main thing. Yeah. And he's like, they involved me and people told on me and, people like, and that's why I was convicted. Yeah. And then his mom, she relocated and everything for him. And then, she like the same story, like, oh, like he's a great kid, but like he was just involved with the wrong people. Yeah. But then the more I remember like all the things like I told you that he says and laughs about, like, all the stuff that he has done. And then all the things that he used to tell me that he used to do when he was in prison too. And he's like, oh, you have no idea. I have painted in the blood of men, you know, and it's like, and I was like, it's things that give you chills.
In reality, Troy had an accessory to murder charge. When he was 17 in 1997, his girlfriend at the time shot and killed someone, and Troy pleaded guilty to helping dispose of the body. But this isn't the only disturbing case Troy was allegedly involved in. In March 2021, a year before Naomi went missing, Troy was also a suspect in accusations of abuse and inappropriate touching involving his 16-year-old stepdaughter.
With FanDuel, every night is a watch party. Because on North America's #1 sportsbook,
While talking about the family gathering from the weekend of Naomi's kidnapping, Zalima explains that following the death of her son's child, she'd wanted her son and daughter-in-law to get a break from everything they'd gone through and had organized the big dinner to lift everyone's spirits. However, Troy had a different plan for them.
When Troy got home on Thursday night, he said, so tomorrow, he goes, so tomorrow, he's like, are we going camping? And then, because we had planned on going the weekend before that, but I can't remember what happened that we definitely couldn't go. And he's like, oh, but we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. And then I go, I know. And then I go, but they're going through something. And then I go, and I want to be there for them. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, they can come too. And then I said, I don't think they're going to want to do that. And I go, they just, you know. And I go, and then Travis is coming so he can spend time with Jose. And then he said, well, they can all come. Like, we can take everyone. And I go, yeah, this is like very short notice. I don't think so.
A day before Naomi's kidnapping, a deputy had visited their house to serve them with some paperwork regarding her son. And Zalima says that Troy had been quite rude to the officer.
And then she was walking over there to, you know, to give him the summons. And he lowered his window and she's like, Troy Driver. And she just went like this. And she's like, oh, here's the summons. And he started pulling up the window. Like, she was still talking to him and he started putting the window up. Then he opened the door and she just left. Like, he didn't even let her finish talking, and she left. And then he got out of the car, out of the truck, and then he walked in, and I was like, oh, and I go, sorry for the welcome home. And he's like, oh, it's fine. And then he just went to where we have our desk, and he put his summons on top of mine, and he went to the room without saying anything. I walked in, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, he had a plastic bag of Boot Barn, and he had already put a pair of insulated pants in there, and he was getting something else, and he was putting it in there. And I go, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm going camping, he said. And I was like, oh, and I was like, the kids are coming tomorrow. He's like, well, I'm going camping. And I was like, okay. I turned around and I got out of the room, and I was a little bit upset that he would leave. Yeah. And because he's always has been so supportive, and like with anything like that, he always wants to do whatever he can to make everyone feel like better or fix it for them or whatever. And the time it was just he didn't care.
Since Troy presumably left for camping alone, he had no verifiable alibi. But that wasn't all. Zulema also shared a chilling story. The couple had a surveillance camera in their garage. Zulima's son had apparently boasted about catching a drink without spilling anything off the tailgate of the truck in their garage, and she'd reviewed the footage, but when she went to see it again, it had been erased. The only person who could have erased it was Troy. However, he'd forgotten to delete one clip when he returned from camping.
In that video, for some reason, he didn't delete it. It's right there. I was looking at it. He gets home at 7:55 on the 12th. Okay. Exactly 7:55. Okay. And something that he never does, and I went through all the footage and everything. He has always told me that wherever we are, he never walks with his hands in his pockets, because he says in prison, you always have to be ready for someone to attack you and to defend yourself. So he learned not to, do that. he gets out of his truck and he's walking when he gets home, and he has his hands in his pocket and his head is down. And when he gets in front of my Subaru, he starts turning and then he just goes like this. And he looks like really sad, really worried, like really, I've never seen him like that. Like his body language is like so, and you can see him when he's coming up. Oh, I'll show you if you want. When he's coming up the steps of the house, he looks like he's having trouble, like he's very tired.
But there was more. For the first time since they'd been together, Troy had showered by himself after returning home that weekend.
And then he got up and he said, I'm going to empty out the truck, all the camping gear. And I was like, it's Sunday. And I was like, we can leave that for later. We have all day, I told him. And then the next day, he didn't have to go to work because we were going to go to Alonso's court. And I was like, we have like all this time in the world. Like, and me and him, we watched a show together, a series, Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. And we watch an episode in the morning and one before we go to sleep. And I told him, like, well, let's watch an episode of Walking Dead. And he's like, no, I gotta clean out the truck. I was like, okay. And you can see him in the video going to the truck, and then he forgets the keys, then he comes back, then he goes back, and he unlocks the truck and whatever, but he doesn't take anything out. He doesn't do anything with it.
Soon after, Troy deleted all the videos that would have shown him cleaning the truck, something which left Zulema confused. When they'd recovered Troy's truck as evidence, they noticed that he suddenly had new tires, something that they asked Zulema about.
How long have you guys been talking about replacing the tires?
Since he got the truck, since last year.
Okay.
He didn't like the tires.
So you guys have been talking about replacing the tires on both vehicles with your tax return ship?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was time to do that, who called to ask about the truck tires? Did he call or did you call?
He called.
Okay.
He called.
So he called. He told you that he called down here?
He said he called, yeah. And
were you present when he called or no?
No, I had walked inside because he told me I'm going to call and see if they have them. Because he wanted to do it right there. It was Friday when we came back from the dentist. It was around 3-something. And he replaced the tires. And that's another thing.
Let me see what date that was.
Friday the 18th.
The 18th, okay.
Yeah. And he deleted all the videos too of him switching the tire with the spare. All of those are deleted too.
And yet another shocker, it had come to light that Troy had insisted on changing the tires after complaining that the truck had a flat one. But Zulema claimed she never noticed that, despite driving the vehicle for the previous week. His claim wasn't helped by the fact that all videos that would have shown the flat tire had been deleted. This pattern of deleting videos was certainly alarming. Troy was hiding something, but what exactly? Zulema had also revealed that Troy claimed Le Schwab, a tire-changing company's outlet in Fallon, near their home, didn't have the tires for his truck in stock, but the one in Winnemucca did. He insisted on getting them replaced immediately, and they made the long trip, just under 2 hours, to Winnemucca for it.
Eat Sleep, I love you. The mattress cover has changed my life, and here is why. I adjust my temperature, so right when I enter my bed, it is cold, like cold, cold, where you want to snuggle in the covers, and then truly I turn on my breath work, and I am lights out.
Eerily, Zulema wore a sweatshirt that day that read Serial Killer Documentaries and Chel, which represented Troy's obsession with crime and killers, something that would come up soon in the interview. With all of this suspicious behavior in mind, detectives finally bring the real reason they're all there, the still missing Naomi, and the hope that Zulema can help finally find her.
So how about when the media hit with this kidnapping? How close were you following it?
Not that close. I saw like 2 different posts, and out of the 2 different posts, the last one, the second one that I saw, I sent it to him because I think that's the one that had the picture of the truck. And I sent it through Messenger, and he didn't reply there. He called me back actually. Because it was like 4 something, and he was leaving the office, and then he called me back, and then he's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's that girl that's missing." Apparently, I told him, and I go, "Did you see?" And I go, "It has a truck that looks like ours." And then like he's like, "No," he's like, I can't see it. I can't look at it because I'm driving. So when he got home, I opened the thing, the post, and I showed him, and I go, "Look," and then because I had been driving the truck that week, I made the joke, and I'm like, "Did I kidnap this girl?" And he's like, "Don't be joking like that." He goes, "Don't even be saying that." And I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry."
Was it like a serious reaction?
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, sorry," you know. And then when I showed him the other one where the suspect is seen, you know, when he's walking back, and you can see his face that is black, and that's when he made that joke. He's like, "Oh, it looks like it's one of your people." And I was like, "Oh God, I hope not." And then I go, "Cause you know, this is like really bad."
They never spoke about the kidnapping after this incident. Zalima shares that once the pictures of the truck had started circulating in the media, she noticed Troy had become nervous about driving it and had asked her to drive instead. It seems like Troy may have gone to Winnemucca to replace the tires because of his fear of being identified in connection with the circulating truck images. But Zalima still isn't quite done. She shares that Troy had a strange conversation with her stepdaughter. The stepdaughter works at an automobile company in USA Parkway and actually took the same bus route as Naomi.
Had that conversation go?
He was asking how is work going, how does she like it, and he's like, do you like better driving or taking the charger? And she's like, she's like, I would like better to be driving. I don't like being around people. She goes, he goes, but it costs too much. She goes, it's especially now. She goes, it costs too much. And she's like, and he's like, oh, is there like a lot of people? And then, he had asked, do you guys have, because for some reason they leave the Panasonic charger parked there at the Safeway, but the Tesla one, it drops them off and it goes back. But the Panasonic, they leave it there. Yeah. And then he goes, so wait, do you take the Panasonic or you take a different one? And she's like, a different one. He's like, it's just not there.
Did he ask anything else about him?
No.
Okay.
Or not that I can remember. I was.
When did that conversation take place?
About a month ago, probably. Okay.
It was evident now that Troy had been planning this for a while, but what kept nagging the investigators was that it still wasn't clear if Troy knew Naomi or how he would have come across her. The realization that the man she loves might have committed the heinous act overwhelms Zalima, and she breaks down.
Do you need a minute?
There's some Kleenexes right there for you.
Why?
I imagine you're heartbroken, like you confided in them, in him, you shared your life with him.
Zulema then went on to share a story about how she met Troy on the Ashley Madison website, and it once again confirms detectives' suspicions of him.
He asked me if I wanted to meet in person, and I said yes, and he told me that he was going to stop at Taco Bell. And he asked me what I was driving, and then he told me that he was driving a lead core truck, and I met him there. And
that was where?
In Winnemucca.
Winnemucca.
In Winnemucca. And we drove out to Rose Creek.
To Rose Creek? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you know where that is, but it's outside of Winnemucca, and it's like the rural area, like that's where all the ranches are. We went out there where there was cattle was grazing out there, and there was a water trough, and we sat right there and we were just talking, and then we went like he wanted, we were just talking and getting to know each other, And then we went back to his truck, and he told me if I wanted to go to Lovelock with him, and we can go, I don't know, have dinner or whatever. Because he was staying at the Royal Inn. That's where Ledcor employees stay all the time when they had the Relief Canyon project. The company put all the Ledcor employees there. We got into his truck, and when we got in, he told me, he's like, I could have killed you and no one would have known. And I thought it was a joke. And I was like, yeah. And I go, but you didn't, so I'm good. And we laughed it off.
Do you hear it?
No. You.
Want a gambling experience made just for you? Our state of
I hit it that time. You can see where I hit it.
Safety.
So these ones here, with the revolvers here, yeah, you still got more.
I had also heard from Joyner that he liked to listen to podcasts.
Audiobooks.
Audiobooks?
On Audible. Yeah.
Okay. What type of audiobooks do we listen to?
The serial killer ones.
The serial killer ones?
And the psychology of lying. And the how to beat interrogations, like CIA, and like about the psychology of how when the CIA or FBI are interrogating you, and how to spot people that are lying, like stuff like that.
Okay. Did you ever listen to any of them with them?
Yeah, I did. I was telling Detective Joyner, like, that's something that even the kids, like, he would put the books, and the one that we actually listened to the whole book all together as a family was the one of Daniel Keyes.
Daniel Keyes?
Yeah, he's a serial killer from Alaska, and he thought it was so cool that he kidnapped a girl, killed her, but he kept her in ice, and she was in such good condition and that she looked alive. And he would take pictures of her, and she looked alive. So he thought that was really cool.
Do you remember hearing anything about that if there was like ever money involved or anything like that?
Yeah, like he wanted ransom.
Ransom?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then he post that girl in a way like she was holding a newspaper, and took the picture and did her makeup and everything, and that's what he thought, that it was so cool that the girl actually looked alive. He went online trying to find the picture so he can show us, but I didn't want to look at it, and the kids didn't want to look at it either.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I was like, but he's like, no, but look at her, she doesn't look scary, she's alive, it's really cool. This guy was really smart.
As she continues to share more concerning details about Troy's behavior, police finally get an idea about how Troy may have seen Naomi.
When he worked in Utah, he stayed out there for a while. He had a couple of women that he was with out there.
Okay. Did he ever say who they were or anything like that? Or
no.
I don't know, about social media. Did he ever have them on social media?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I know of, but he did tell me that he met them on Ashley Madison, that one where I met him, that one website, and he told me that he had met a bunch right there. I don't know that he went out with all of them, or he didn't tell me, but he did say that the two in Utah, he met them there.
Okay.
Now when we met, and then we actually started getting serious. after I met him, like I think a month after I met him, I deleted completely my Ashley Madison account.
Okay.
And I learned about that from my cousin in California and my sister. They told me about that. And then when I got separated, that's why I got into that app. And then my cousin and my sister were still on it. And I was with him for about 6 or 8 more months after. And my I don't know if it was my sister or my cousin, they sent me a screenshot of him still being on the app.
Now, did it show if he was active on the map? Or
It
just,
did. It did. And I asked him about it and I go, why? Because we had said that we were going to be exclusive. And he told me, you know, like, yeah, that was it. And I asked him, why did he still have the app? And he said, it was just for fun. He said it was fun to see the kind of women that wanted to be with him. He's like, but I'm not responding. He's like, it's just for fun.
Troy Driver's profile was active on dating apps. The detectives already knew that Naomi used dating apps to meet new people. Perhaps this was how Troy came to know who Naomi was. As the detectives question Zulema further to understand Troy's disturbing interests, they find even more reason to believe he's involved in Naomi's kidnapping.
Did he ever talk about if he would have done something, how he would do it?
Oh my God. When I lived in Winnemucca, I had 2 clients that I used to clean their houses for. Those were the clients that I had for the longest time. I cleaned their houses for almost 7 years.
Okay.
The mom's name is, she owns a, in Winnemucca, double check. And her daughter is, and her husband, they owned a crushing business in Winnemucca. In December, they said that she committed suicide. This past December. Her mom, my boss, she believes that he killed her because he asked her for a divorce. And when I was going through my divorce, she had told me, get your part, like get your half. So I was very upset when they said that she committed suicide. When I called her mom and she told me, no, I think he killed her because she was going to get half of the business and he didn't want to share the business. And then she started telling me how I was telling her that she was scared and gave her different type of documents about how she was found and everything. And he told me, if that was me, I would have done the same thing. And I can tell you that he's not going to get arrested. And he's like, because they're not, you know, because I would have done the same thing. So that is the only time that he has told me. And that upset me. And I was like, don't tell me that.
Before the interview wraps up, Zulema shares one last damning detail. The camping gear was unused from the weekend Troy had apparently left for camping alone. The same weekend Naomi went missing.
And when we were in California, because the ones in California, there was one that we went 1,000 feet underground. And that one, he said, like, my God, you can hide a body here and no one will ever find it.
While every lead reinforces their suspicions against Troy, none of it leads them to Naomi Arian. It's now over 2 weeks since Naomi was last seen, and the situation soon evolves into a desperate race against time.
I'm not sure if this might interest you, but people ask me, how did you lose so much weight? And here's what I tell them. Keto and other diets never worked for me. but I couldn't figure out why until I went from 184 to 123. I was doing everything right. I just needed a little tweak to one thing. So this...
In a bid to gather any information that could lead to Naomi, Troy Driver's arrest is released to the media in the hopes this will urge any witnesses to come forward. Soon after, the investigators start receiving tips from several callers. They receive a call from a woman informing them that a man resembling Troy Driver allegedly followed her to the same Walmart parking lot a month earlier. The woman said that she was walking her dogs near a highway outside of Fernley in February when she noticed a car pull up next to hers off the road in the dirt. The driver then tailed her car to a Walmart. If this was Troy, then it established a disturbing pattern of behavior for him. They also receive a call from an employee at the Relief Canyon mine who had been a co-worker of Troy Driver. He informs them that a month before Naomi was taken, a heavy equipment delivery driver arrived at the mine with an excavator that was requested by Troy Driver. This employee spoke with Troy and noted down the address where he wanted the excavator to be delivered. This address was about 16 miles away and led to the Buena Vista iron mine. The investigators pay a visit to the mine, diligently tracing the excavator's path, which ultimately leads them to an unsettling discovery: a shallow, unmarked grave. On March 29th, over 2 weeks since Naomi's kidnapping, the hollow grave is exhumed and human remains are found. 2 days following this grim revelation, the medical examiners identify the remains as Naomi Irian. Initial findings from the autopsy suggest that Naomi was shot in the back of her head and subsequently shot in the chest after her body had been moved into the grave. An autopsy revealed that she had also been assaulted. The tire impressions discovered at the scene aligned with the set of tires on Troy Driver's truck, the ones he had before they were replaced. And yet another shocker, numerous witnesses come forward to attest that they had seen Troy Driver operating an excavator in the mine's remote vicinity all by himself about a month before the kidnapping. Chat records from Zulima's phone throws more light on this appalling twist. This revelation that Troy discussed the excavator with Zulima solidifies the fact that the crime was premeditated, with Troy having orchestrated every detail a month in advance. It's unclear how much Troy told Zulima, beyond the fact that he needed the excavator, and it's unknown if she knew why. Yet Troy Driver didn't know Naomi Irian. Instead, it seemed that he had meticulously plotted his crime and was actively searching for his victim. Investigators reasoned that he might have selectively targeted certain individuals and tracked their routines to gain knowledge about them. This theory held merit, especially considering that he'd arrived just a few minutes before Naomi on the morning he kidnapped and killed her. In the following weeks, detectives collaborate closely with Zulima to collect evidence against Troy. Despite still grappling with shock and the dramatic upheaval in her life, Zulima assists the investigation to the best of her ability. During one of their meetings at her home, Troy calls her, unaware that the detectives are listening in on the conversation.
And I don't know if you can respond to me, but are you being honest with me? It's like I've been going through the past 2 weeks, 3 a month. What?
So, baby, these calls are recorded. They're going to portray me as guilty, and I'm never going to get out of prison.
I mean, how can you say that? Like, if you're innocent, like, I'm pretty sure it could be proven. well, I am sorry. It is really difficult to be hearing all the stuff that they're saying about you, everything that I am remembering about you. And I want you to know that they've been asking me to talk to them, and I'm sorry, but I am going to talk to them about everything that I have experienced with you. Okay? He's lying. I know he's lying.
In April 2022, Troy Driver was charged with murder, robbery, vehicle burglary, and destruction of evidence. It was confirmed that his DNA was found on and inside of Naomi. He was additionally charged with assault. Further investigation proved that after assaulting and killing Naomi, Troy had burnt her clothes, some of his own clothing, and other pieces of evidence. The case doesn't end here, though. About 4 months later, Troy carefully snuck a letter out of prison to his now ex-girlfriend Zalima and her children, hidden inside a deck of cards. Allegedly in the note, he admitted to all the allegations against him and stated things like, "There's always been a terrible darkness inside me. Neither this situation nor any other was sexually motivated. Something happened that I can neither justify nor explain." And even more chillingly, quote, "The guilt is crushing. I didn't know anything about her until it was too late." He also stated in the letter that he wanted to end his life. Troy Driver was put on a watch, though he still made 2 attempts. Finally, on August 6, 2023, Troy Driver made a 3rd attempt and succeeded. Casey Valley and his mother, Diana Irian, both shared with us how they felt about the conclusion of Naomi's case.
To me, the trial was, in some ways, it would have been some closure. In some ways, it would have been some vindication. In some ways, it would have been, closure for the community. But at the same time, I did not relish the thought of dragging my whole family, especially my mother, through that. As far as I'm concerned, I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad he's never going to hurt anybody ever again. I'm glad he's never going to feel any gratification of any kind ever again. I really hope that if there is any other cases that Driver was connected to, whether there was or there wasn't, I do believe that he would have kept doing this type of thing. I feel like it's a net good, even though we didn't get that. I don't even want to say satisfaction. It's more like a tiny bit of closure just to hear the gavel come down on guilty. But at the end of the day, it does erode my faith in the current system in some ways.
Well, my first reaction was relief, but that was just for a fleeting moment. Then I became angry, ragefully angry, because now Naomi's story would not be told again. She would not ever have justice. This monster who did this to her would not have to face me in court where I could tell him the monstrous, horrendous thing that he did to our family and the effect that it had.
Today, Casey Valley and Diana Irian believe in keeping Naomi's legacy alive through their actions.
I don't think Naomi would have wanted me to just give up on anything. And I mean, there's plenty of times where I feel like I just can't do it. But Naomi loved family. Naomi loved caring for others. Naomi loved fairness. Naomi loved justice. And she believed that, I mean, and this is like a pretty simplistic thing, but she believed that, if you have a thing that you care about, if you have a goal in life, you should totally pursue it. Like, get after it. So I just think about some of the times where I feel down. First of all, I put everything to the side to ensure that Naomi got whatever justice we could get her. Everything else was to the side. But once Driver was in custody and once we had found her, I knew that there was not a whole lot else I could do. And so I've just been doing my best to live my life in a way that I think would make Naomi proud. So, and that's all I can do. I can't give up. I don't have any give up in me.
Politeness is something that most people try to instill in their children from a very young age. When girls become women, politeness often evolves into a subconscious defense mechanism to protect themselves from unwanted advances, to keep the peace, and to avoid confrontation. There have been times many women have found themselves in compromising situations because they were too afraid to say no, or to tell a creep to just get lost, all in fear of being perceived as rude and potentially making the situation worse. For one Florida mom, when a man offered to help her buy some items for her kids that she couldn't afford, she got that feeling that there had to be a catch, and like the man's gesture, might have had an ulterior motive. He offered to take her and her children to another store to buy some items that they desperately needed. And the more kindness that he offered her, the harder it became to just walk away. Rain Periwinkle's fear of coming off as rude or ungrateful would ultimately put her and her daughters in an unknowingly very dangerous situation. And the mistake to trust this seemingly generous man would prove to have grave consequences for her oldest daughter, Cherish Periwinkle. Hey guys, I'm Annie Elise. This is 10 to Life, and let's jump right in. Rain Periwinkle was born in 1968 in Brisbane, Australia, and originally was given the name Kimberly Hoy. She was only 18 years old when she gave birth to her first daughter, Lindsay, and Kimberly had a very difficult time adjusting to motherhood at such a young age. Kimberly was said to have a very short temper with Lindsay, and was more interested in hanging out with friends and partying than taking care of her new daughter. Kimberly's mother and older sister would step in to raise Lindsay, and eventually became her primary caretakers due to Kimberly hardly ever being around. In 1991, Kimberly took off to America, abandoning Lindsay completely and leaving her in the care of her family when she was only 5 years old. Kimberly realized that she could have a life of freedom in America without the responsibility of being a mom, and she decided to settle in Jacksonville, Florida. She eventually decided to change her name to Rain Periwinkle in an attempt to develop an entirely new persona and leave the person that she was, the old original Kimberly, back in Australia and behind for good. Rain would quickly realize how difficult starting a new life completely from scratch really was, especially when you have no help from family who live all the way across the world and who you have essentially left your child with. She needed to get money to support herself quickly, and she decided the best way to do that was to become an exotic dancer at a local club. In 2004, while Rain was working at the club, she met a man named Billy Jarrow, who was in Jacksonville for a short time while serving in the Navy. One thing led to another, and Rain and Billy had a one-night stand, with really no plans of ever seeing each other again. However, a few months later, Rain would realize that she was pregnant, and the timing pointed directly to Billy being the father. She told the friends that she had made in Florida that this was her very first pregnancy, and they had no idea about her old life and her existing daughter Lindsay that she had left behind in Australia years before. So Rain gave birth to a little girl on Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2004, and she named her Cherish Lily Periwinkle. Rain called Cherish her Christmas miracle, and she waited nearly 3 years before she tracked Billy down to let him know that she had a daughter who was more than likely his. After Cherish was born, Rain started a long-term on and off again relationship with a man named Aaron Pearson, and he helped raise Cherish for the majority of her life. However, due to their financial difficulties, Rain decided to bring Billy to court to get child support for Cherish. But Billy wanted to do a paternity test to make sure that this little girl was actually his. Rain denied a paternity test at first, but to get the child support for Cherish, the court ordered that she prove that Billy really be the father. When the paternity test came back as a match, Billy immediately wanted to become involved in his little girl's life that he had already missed so much of. Over the next several years, the courts would slowly grant Billy more and more time with his daughter Cherish, and it took a while for them to bond together as father and daughter since he had missed those crucial first couple of years of her life. At one point, Billy even took Rain to court to try to gain full custody because he didn't agree with the living conditions that she was having Cherish in or the lifestyle that she was subjecting their daughter to. You see, Rain was diagnosed with bipolar disorder after seeking mental health treatment in the early 2000s, and she had a very hard time holding down a steady job due to her long periods of depression and other periods of erratic and impulsive behavior. When she did have a place to live, it was usually unsuitable for anyone, let alone a small child, to live in. Billy and Rain rarely saw eye to eye on how to raise their daughter, and he felt like it would be in the best interest for Cherish to live with him full time. Cherish was a sweet, playful, and bright little girl. She loved swimming, riding her bike, coloring, and was pretty well adjusted considering the life of chaos that she was thrown into at just such a young age. Even though she and Rain moved a lot and her mother's behavior was unpredictable at times, she was said to be happy and very trusting of people. In 2006, Rain and Cherish were living in a homeless shelter, and this would be the start of DCFS getting involved in their life. There was a daycare attached to the shelter, and on several occasions, Rain would drop Cherish off and not pick her up for sometimes up to 4 hours after the daycare had closed. There were other incidents where Rain was said to have shaken Cherish when she couldn't get her to stop crying. Nevertheless, the court still allowed Cherish to remain in Rain's custody. A few years later, after
That woman is a trash mother and being. Why are you not taking that child away? Just shows you how crazy and how slow this system moves. You have a father who's willing to take care of this child, but yet she won't relinquish that child, if she doesn't want to be. You know what she did to her first child? That's crazy.
After Aaron got a steady job, Rain and Cherish moved in and had a more long-term place to live, even if it wasn't up to Billy's standards. Aaron had one son from a previous relationship, a previous marriage, and he and Rain went on to have 2 daughters together, who they named Destiny and Nevaeh. While Rain was pregnant with their second daughter in 2009, she was struggling with her untreated bipolar disorder, and she tried to take her own life by taking copious amounts of Benadryl. Aaron even made comments that he wouldn't allow his son to stay alone with Rain due to her erratic behavior, but I guess he wasn't as concerned about his daughters in her care. Who knows why? There were also said to be small incidents of verbal and physical arguments between Aaron and Rain, and even though Billy had a nice home and a stable career, DCFS and the court still felt like it was in Cherish's best interest to stay with her sisters and her mother, Rain. Billy, who was now living in San Diego, California, would get Cherish for extended visits, and in June of 2013, she was set to come and spend the whole summer with him. On June 21st, 2013, Rain was getting Cherish ready for her summer in California to go and spend time with her dad. It wasn't unlike Rain to wait until the last minute, and she still needed to get Cherish a few more clothes items and some shoes to take on her trip. So Cherish needed to be up at 4 a.m. the next morning to make her flight, which she would be taking all alone, all the way from one side of the country to the other, at only 8 years old. Aaron gave Rain a $100 bill to buy Cherish some clothes and told her to only spend $40 of that so that they would have enough for the cab to the airport in the morning. So Cherish loaded up Destiny and Nevaeh in their stroller, and with Cherish by her side, they made the 1-mile walk to the local Family Dollar store. The 4 shopped around a little bit, and Rain bought some of the items they needed for the home before walking across the street to a Dollar General. Rain and the girls looked at the clothing and the shoes, and Cherish found a dress that she really liked that was covered in little hearts. The dress didn't have a price tag, so when they walked up to the checkout, Rain asked the cashier how much the dress cost. When the cashier told her how much it cost, Rain realized she wouldn't have enough enough money to get the dress and the other things that she needed to get Cherish for her trip. Now, I really want to quickly say, at Family Dollars, Dollar Trees, Dollar Generals, you might be asking, well, how much did the dress cost? It was a dollar store. It was $1, of course. That's not how it works, which is very, very odd. But if you're not familiar, items in the dollar store aren't $1. They are multiple dollars a lot of the time. So I don't understand why they name it the dollar store or a variation of, but whatever. That is, I guess, an argument for a later day. It doesn't matter here. But in case you were wondering, well, how much was the dress? It was a dollar store. That's why. So Cherish was really sad that she had to put that dress back. And Rain noticed a man standing near the front of the store who seemed to be listening to their conversation with the cashier. She didn't think much of it because the man walked out of the store while they paid for their items. When the family walked out of the store, though, the man from inside approached them and said, if you really want that dress, I'll buy it for you. Rain didn't know what to think about his offer and his generosity because in her experience, men hadn't offered to buy her things unless there was some other motive. He then told her that he actually had a $150 gift card for the Walmart and that he was waiting for his wife to bring it to him. He said Rain could use it for her children because he could tell that she had her hands full and was struggling buying the items. Rain still felt a little uneasy by this.
That is a wild.
And the more she talked to the man who introduced himself now as Don, the more comfortable she started to feel. He talked about his wife and their little ones and how he worked with children and attended a local church. Rain decided to wait for Don's wife to come with the gift card because now she was feeling desperate because at this point she was now feeling a little more secure and she was feeling desperate not being able to send Cherish on her trip with any new clothes or shoes that fit her. They waited for around 10 minutes and Rain told him that she had to get Cherish up really early to make her flight to California and she wondered how long his wife would be. It had started to rain at this point in the parking lot, and the girls were having fun jumping in the puddles and playing with their umbrellas while they waited. Finally, this man, Don, took a phone call and said that he could just drive them all to Walmart and his wife would meet them there with the gift card. Rain felt apprehensive and said that she'd rather wait for his wife there. But then Don kind of got an attitude and said, you don't have to do this. Kind of like, I'm doing you a favor in that kind of way. Rain didn't want to seem paranoid or untrusting because she didn't want him to get annoyed with her and then decide to leave. She really wanted that gift card for her girls, and she felt like coming across as rude or refusing to get in the van would ruin her opportunity to get the things that she really needed. Finally, Rain decided to load up her daughters into Don's white van and ride to Walmart, which was only a short drive away. Now, if you're like me, the red flags are going off. You never get in a stranger's car, especially if it's a van. Also, the mysterious fact that now his wife can't bring the gift card there and you have to get in his car, that's a red flag. This has the nowadays Target human ring scam, if you know what I'm saying, written all over it. She told Dawn that her stroller was kind of broken and not able to fold up, and he said for her just to shove it in the van. There was a seat taken out of the middle of the large van, so there was plenty of room for the girls to sit in the far back seat and the stroller to be in the middle. Again, seats pulled out of a van. Why? Because they're pulling people in randomly? I don't like it. Rain rode up front, and on their way, they continued to make small talk. He asked how old all of the girls were, where Rain worked, and talked about his life as well. So Rain, by this, rather than seeing the red flags, started to feel even more comfortable. And like Don was an older grandpa type guy who just wanted to help her and her family out. When they arrived at Walmart, they waited for Don's wife for about 10 more minutes. And even though Don's phone didn't ring, he picked it up and said, okay, see you soon. Rain figured that his phone was maybe on silent, and he said his wife was on her way. He told the family to go ahead and start shopping, and that he would meet them in the girls' department with the gift card in a few minutes. Now, I can see where you might be becoming more trusting in this moment, because he's allowing you out of the car. He's allowing you into Walmart, into a public place. If his goal in your mind, if his goal or perhaps goal was going to be to kidnap you all or the girls, he wouldn't let you out of the van after he got you inside. So I could see where maybe you would become more trusting in this moment. Like, okay, I got myself worked up for nothing. See, we're in Walmart. This is real. This is legit. So Rain and the girls walked inside, and she quickly started picking out items for the girls and then placing them inside the cart. She made little piles for Cherish, Nevaeh, and Destiny. And to them, $150 for clothing felt like a shopping spree. So a few minutes later, Don comes in and he joins the family in the girls' department. Rain said that Don kind of stood back and watched while the girls shopped, and he only put one item in the cart of his own, which was a bundle of rope. So any security you're feeling in that moment, and I would think goes out the window when you see that he is putting a huge thing of rope in his basket. And because of this, Rain has been criticized for her trusting of Don, but she still, for some reason, allowed him to take Cherish to the dressing room 2 different times to try on clothing. He and Cherish also looked at the shoes, and he gave her a pair to go ask her mom if she could have. And the shoes were high heels, and Rain said that she wouldn't even wear those type of shoes, let alone let her 8-year-old daughter wear them. She told Cherish to put the shoes back and felt like it was kind of strange, but figured that older men just didn't know what kind of shoes little girls wear, which no man in his right mind is trying to put a child in high heels unless they have a weird fetish. So it was either that she was justifying it or was just overlooking some serious red flags because she was just so desperate for that money. At around 10 p.m., the girls were all getting really fussy because they hadn't eaten any dinner. From across the girls section, Don mouthed and motioned to Rain with his hand, "What do you want to eat?" Cherish ran over to her mom and sisters and said, "We're going to McDonald's. What do you want to eat?" The McDonald's was inside the Walmart, just at the front of the store, and Rain told her to tell Don that they just wanted some cheeseburgers. Don started to walk away, and Cherish caught up behind to go with him to McDonald's. Rain wasn't worried at this point because there were a lot of people around, and she knew that Cherish would never leave with a stranger without asking. When Don and Cherish approached the McDonald's, he felt around in his pocket as if to be looking for his wallet. It appeared that he had forgotten his wallet in the van, coincidentally, so he and Cherish made their way to the parking lot. After around 20 minutes, Rain started to wonder where Don and Cherish were, and a few minutes later, the intercom made an announcement that the store would be closing soon. Rain and the girls pushed their cart to the checkout lanes and started looking for Don and Cherish. They went up and down all of the lanes to the McDonald's and the grocery section, but there was no sign of them. Rain started to get a little worried, but was sure that they were somewhere inside of the store. She told Destiny and Nevaeh to wait by the customer service area, and the more she looked, the faster she started walking through all of the aisles until she was eventually running frantically through the entire store. In a panic, she yelled out, "Someone call 911, my daughter's been taken." Rain had left her phone in Dawn's van, but it wasn't working properly anyway because one of the girls had spilled water on it a few days prior. Every horrible possibility started to run through Rain's mind, and a Walmart associate quickly allowed her to use their phone to call 911.
Jackson 911 Robinson.
Hi, I'm at Walmart. I'm in turn, I think I've been taken.
What do you mean?
Taken by a stranger. I can't find her.
And you say you at the Walmart on Lim Turner?
Yes, I am.
Okay, where did you last see her at?
Walmart. I met a man today at Dollar General. He saw that I was struggling to buy them some clothes. He drove us here to buy us some clothes, and the only reason I went with him because he said his wife was going to be here. Because I told him I don't take rides with strangers.
Okay, ma'am.
He said he was going to McDonald's, and he hasn't been there because the store is closed right now. I had a strange feeling about him when I first met him, and he took her to the dressing room twice, and I was hoping that she would be okay. And I was looking at the shoes, and I didn't want him to think that I was overly protective, freaking out. But now they're not here, and I find it very odd because he knew that.
Oh, okay, ma'am. What color vehicle does he drive?
It's a white van. I had a bad feeling. I thought, well, I feel like pinching myself because this is too good to be true. So I got to the checkout. He's not here. He isn't here. And I'm hoping he's not her right now because I've had that done to me. And it's not fun. She's supposed to go to California in the morning on the plane. And he knows this. I told him this. He knew when the store...
This woman makes me angry and infuriates me. She is so stupid and dumb. Oh my God. She is terrible.
Or was closing. I had a bad feeling about him.
Okay, how long have you been looking for you? When was the last time you saw him? How long ago?
About half an hour ago.
So you've been looking for her for a half an hour?
Yes. There's nobody in the store. And he knew the store was closing. He said he was going to McDonald's. She went with him. I should have told her to stay with me. He wanted her to buy these really tall shoes that were women's shoes, and I told him no. I said they're too high for her. I wouldn't even wear shoes that high. Maybe he was grooming her. I hope to God he doesn't kill her, and I hope to God he doesn't her. I don't want him to kill her. I don't want to be one of those parents that are going through this. Oh my gosh.
At first, even though Rain explicitly said that her daughter had been taken, the dispatcher called in Cherish as a missing person rather than an abduction. When the police arrived, they initially didn't believe Rain's story about Cherish being abducted, but that was until they viewed the surveillance footage and saw Don and Cherish walk to the parking lot and drive away in his van. When they were able to identify who the man was, the situation became even more critical, and it turned out that Cherish was with one of the most dangerous types of predators. Donald James Smith was born on September 4th, 1956 to his 17-year-old mother, Patricia Moore, and a father whom he really had no contact with after his birth. They lived with Patricia's parents, and Don developed a very close relationship with his grandparents as a young child. When his mother got married to a man named Clifton Smith, Don reportedly begged not to have to leave his grandparents' house, and ultimately, the life that they began with his stepfather would turn out to be extremely traumatic. Over the years, Patricia's husband was said to be very inappropriate with her son Don, and there were even allegations that he had touched Don inappropriately. Clifton's job required the family to move frequently, which caused Don to struggle with making friends and to endure ruthless bullying at all of his new schools. It was even said that he had even paid other children to play with their toys, and that he never quite fit in with any of his peers. When Don was 8 years old, 2 teenage boys who lived in his neighborhood ended up touching him inappropriately on multiple occasions. They also forced him to watch them do the same thing, much more violently, to other little girls in their neighborhood as well. This had a profound effect on Don, and his mother said that only a few years later, at 10 years old, he started to expose himself to other children. It was said that during this time, he also endured a traumatic brain injury on the right side of his head that permanently altered his personality going forward. As a teenager, he began heavily using substances and had his first run-ins with the law. After committing burglaries to fuel his drug habit, he was sentenced to several years in prison, where he was attacked by 2 fellow inmates after dropping the soap, if you catch my drift. When he was released, his lewd behavior would only escalate, but he seemed to always slip through the cracks of any system designed to protect the public from people with this type of issue. As a young adult, Don was known around town as a creep who flashed himself to children at local playgrounds. It wasn't until 1977 that he was finally convicted of lewd behavior toward a minor, and this was for exposing himself to a girl under the age of 10 and touching himself in the presence of a 5-year-old. He served 1 year in jail and then was placed on probation after being categorized as a mentally disordered offender. In 1981, he was arrested for violating his probation, and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. In 1991, he pleaded guilty to burglary and grand theft, and even though he could have been sentenced to 15 years, he only received 4 months. In 1993, Don approached a 13-year-old girl named Carrie Ann. She was walking alone to a friend's house a few blocks away. He asked her if she wanted a ride, and when she said no, he became angry and told her to get the F in the van. Carrie Ann started running, and then Don threw his car into drive and drove behind her, cutting her off at an intersection. The girl ran as fast as she could to her friend's house and started banging on the door to let her in. but nobody was home. Terrified, she ran through yards until she got to a playground behind a local elementary school. But Dawn saw her run behind the school, and she thought that he was going to catch her. Using her wits and smarts, she quickly climbed into a tube slide while Dawn drove his truck to the back parking lot of the school. She used her hands and her feet to press against the tube slide from inside to keep herself from slipping down. And she waited for what felt like hours as she could hear Dawn's van still running in the parking lot. He shouted out the window at her, "I know you're in there, you little bitch." And Carrie Ann was terrified that he knew that she was in the slide. Finally, she heard the van pull away, but made sure to wait a few more minutes before climbing out of the slide and running home. When she got there, she told her parents what happened. A few days later, Carrie Ann and her mom could see Dawn's white van sitting outside of her house. This enraged her mother, and she went outside, causing him to drive away. She and Carrie Ann jumped in the car and sped behind him, writing down the license plate number to the van. They turned the number into the police, and Dawn was quickly arrested. For this, he could have faced life in prison for the attempted kidnapping alone, due to him being a habitual offender. But once again, he skated by and only received 6 years in prison. After his release in 2001, his stepfather died and Dawn inherited $100,000, which he blew in less than 3 months on substances. Even though his mother, Patricia, knew about this, she was in denial that her son had a drug problem.
All right, I am done with this painting. Thank you guys for watching. And I'm going to end the stream here because I have to go. Yeah, if you like what you see, and I'm going to post the full artwork and probably touch up some more. If you like what you see, feel free to follow me on my Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, X, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon for more. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good one. Bye.